Hello, everyone. I couldn't wait. I had a minute left. I was watching the seconds tick down, tick, 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 and I get impatient. So I had to click on. So reading over this chapter was a little more interesting than the last couple of chapters, I will have to say, because we've all heard about the reactive mind and how important it is in Scientology and how much they talk about it in Scientology. So, and it's a very long, I think it's the longest chapter we've hit so far. So I'm pretty sure we're going to have to break it into at least 2 parts, maybe 3, depending on how many people are here, much we want to talk about it. It'll just depend, because I think it was, let's see, it's from page, see, this is for the computer, and these are for the book, because they're at different distances. So let's see, page 69 to page 94. So that's 79, 25 pages. That's a very long chapter. So I'm going to give it another minute or two. So you can see the book that I got. I got it off of eBay. It was less than $10. It was $7 to $9. I can't remember. And I was looking at the years that they were published. And it was written in the 50s, but David Miscavige made changes and re-released it in 2007. That's what they're selling now. So this one was published in 91. What's interesting about that is I try to put myself in the mind of somebody who's writing this in those years before computers and internet and social media, and then the people that became interested in this book before the internet and social media. Hi, Scooter Mom. Yeah, this one's it's the reactive mind. We hear a lot about that in Scientology. And this is 25 pages long, this one chapter. It's the longest one. So we may have to split this into 2 parts. And reading it, it was, again, I try to read it as a spectator, like thinking about the people reading it and what time periods they read it in, and remembering that this was written in the 50s. So he says things like scientific study has proven da 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 da. I'm like, well, that was 70 years ago that this was written. So that kind of blows my mind. It's older than 91. This one isn't, but the book's older than I am. So we're going to get into it. I've given it a few minutes to get, well, it's only been a couple minutes, but like I was saying before you jumped on, this book was published in 91. It was written in the 50s, I think 54. But in 2007, David Miscavige made changes and re-released it. I think that was the whole ideal org thing, or a golden age of tech, or something like that. And I am going to delve into some place and try to find exactly what the changes were. If I think I found a website that I can find out. So let's get into this. All right, so we're on the reactive mind. That would be book 2, chapter 2. So he splits them up into books. So it was hard. I tried to not read every single word, or we'd be here all day. But there's so many things that make it, interesting to think about, that I gotta stop shaking the computer. Sorry about that. Okay. Oh, here we go. It is fairly well accepted in these times that life in all forms evolved from the basic building blocks, the virus and the cell. Its only relevance to Dianetics is that such a proposition works. And actually, that is all we ask of Dianetics. There is no point to writing here a vast tome on biology and evolution. We can add some chapters to those things, but Charles Darwin did his job well, and the fundamental principles of evolution can be found in his and other works. Okay. And he does go on to talk about cells and he says he's not going to talk about something, and then he does. So I just kind of left that part out. As went the building block, so went the organism. In the infinite realms and for any of our purposes, man could be considered to be a colonial aggregation of cells, and it could be assumed that his purpose was identical with the purpose of his building blocks. The cell is a unit of life which is seeking to survive and only to survive. Man's mind is the command post of operation and is constructed to resolve problems and pose problems related to survival and only to survival. The action of survival, if optimum, would lead to survival. He really likes to repeat himself a lot. All right. Talks about survival some more. So, none of these postulates outlaw any concept concerning the human soul or divine or creative imagination. It was understood perfectly that this was a study in the finite universe only, and that spheres and realms of thought and action might very well exist above this finite sphere. But it was also discovered that none of these factors were needed to resolve the entire problem of aberration and irrational conduct. The realms of thought and action might very well exist above this finite sphere, but none of these factors were needed to resolve the problem of aberration and irrational. Okay, I don't quite get that. Hi, Marco. Haven't missed much. He's just talking about cells, the building blocks of creation and evolution. Basic human character was found to have been pilloried, which he has a note, pilloried to hold up to public ridicule or scorn. Sorry. Basic human character was found to have been pilloried because man had not been able to distinguish between irrational conduct derived from poor data and irrational conduct derived from another far more vicious source. So we remember he had a whole chapter on the brain as a computer, and that we would be perfect if we didn't have aberrations because our brain remembers all data, something like that. If there ever was a devil, he designed the reactive mind. So now we're getting into it. This functional mechanism managed to bury itself from view so thoroughly that only inductive of our using induction, logical reasoning that a general law exists because particular cases that seem to be examples of it exist. Okay. Inductive philosophy, traveling from effect back to cause, served to uncover it. The detective work which was invested in the location of this arch criminal of the human psyche occupied many years. Its identity can now be certified by any technician in any clinic or in any group of men. 273 individuals have been examined and treated. Now, this is what I like about how he writes. I don't like it, but I notice. Whenever he talks about scientific research or it's been proven or studies have been done, it's always vague. It's never he that did the study but he kind of alludes to the fact that, he wrote the book, that he's the one that did all this studying. But no, I don't think anybody did. And if they did, this is from the 50s. Things have changed drastically since then. Try not to shake the computer too much. So let's go on with that paragraph. So he says 273 individuals have been examined and treated, representing all the various types of inorganic mental illness and the many varieties of psychosomatic ills. In each one, this reactive mind was found operating, its principles unvaried. This is a long series of cases and will soon become longer. Now, he calls it psychosomatic ills. We call it, mental health issues now. So I'll be honest, psychosomatic ills is not a phrase I've heard a lot in regular everyday life. Like I said, that's why they had to have Dianetics centers and have classes on this book. And there's a workbook too, which, see, I do a brain dump when I'm done. I need to make notes. You know what? I'm going to do it because I will forget. I want to order I saw the workbook on eBay. Not very expensive at all. So, order workbook. Just because I want to look at it. Just to see, for me, it's all curiosity. Just to see what he was teaching, how he was teaching it, what he was doing to make it more understandable. If there ever was a devil, his name is LRH, and he got reincarnated into David Miscavige. No joke. No joke. I know, right? That makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Okay. And I did try to, because this is such a long chapter, I did try to take out just stuff he was just repeating himself and just giving these long examples of stuff that is understandable. I mean, he talks to people like they're 5 years old and he knows everything. All right. So, all right, here we are. What does this mind do? It shuts off hearing recall. It places vocal circuits in the mind. It makes people tone deaf. It makes people stutter. It does anything and everything that can be found in any list of mental ills: psychosis, neurosis, compulsions, repressions. And he's going to talk about that in detail. What can it do? It can give a man arthritis. There's where we get a little bit into the ridiculous. He's trying to say the reactive mind, and things like arthritis, I'll go on, bursitis, asthma, allergies, sinusitis, coronary trouble, high blood pressure, and so on, down the whole catalog of psychosomatic ills. Now, he's calling those psychosomatic ills. First of all, he's not a doctor. Second of all, when has ever anyone thought that these physical illnesses are all in your mind? So he's trying to say arthritis, asthma, coronary trouble, and so on is in your mind. Doesn't make any sense. Oh, I knew what you meant, Marco. I do it all the time too. So a few more. On down the whole catalog of psychosomatic ills, adding a few more which were never specifically classified as psychosomatic ills, such as the common cold. So, people that read this book 70 years ago are being told that he can cure physical illness in the mind. Hi, Sunday. Good to see you. Well, we just found out LRH is saying arthritis, asthma, coronary trouble is all psychosomatic ill. It's in the mind. So now we understand why the reactive mind is talked about so much, because he's trying to say that he's going to cure that in chapter, we've only read this part of the book. So I can imagine people in the, like I've said before, the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, before there was internet, and mental illness wasn't, people kept it quiet. They didn't talk about it. So now, first he was trying to say he could cure all of your mental illness. Now he's saying he can cure all of your physical illnesses. So let's see how interesting this gets. All right. Just some examples. This is the mind which keeps war a thing of alarm, which makes politics irrational, which makes superior officers snarl, which makes children cry in fear of the dark. This is the mind which makes a man suppress his hopes, which holds his apathies, which gives him irresolution when he should act, and kills him before he has begun to live. Yeah, Marco, I do agree. I do agree to some extent on that. Yeah, but yeah, not the ones he's talking about. These are things, arthritis, asthma, coronary issues, those can be documented if you have those. And then he says, if there ever was a devil, he invented it. So who's he? Is he talking about the mind? The reactive mind, I think. I didn't get that sentence. Discharge the content of this mind's bank, and the arthritis vanishes. Here it goes. Myopia gets better. Heart illness decreases. Asthma disappears. Stomachs function properly. And the whole catalog of ills goes away and stays away. He literally just said in this book, and learning the things that he's teaching is going to cure you. He just said it outright. That, you know what, I'm saving that page. We might want to look at that again. Okay, so we've heard him talk about engrams before. So now he says, discharge the reactive engram bank, and the schizophrenic faces reality at last. The manic depressive sets forth to accomplish things. The neurotic stops clinging to books which tell him how much he needs his neurosis, and begins to live. The woman stops snapping at her children, and the dipsomaniac can drink when he likes and stop. That must be an older term for something. It's down here at the bottom. Dipsomaniac, a person suffering from an uncontrollable craving for alcohol. So, an alcoholic, we call that a disease. Now we don't use these big words. Didn't he say he wasn't going to use big words? Just thought. Oh, Phil Jones. I know, right? You know they're all lying to themselves when they say, oh, I'm clear, I've gone clear. You know, what gets me is, we talked about, he said he could cure your eyesight. You wouldn't need glasses anymore. So what happens to the person when they go OT whatever level, and they do superpower and they still have to wear glasses? You have to lie to yourself, because you can't talk out loud. He's made it so hostile in an environment, and such a snitching culture, that you would never say out loud to anyone, not even a spouse in the church, that, you know, I'm clear, or I'm OT8 and I still have to wear glasses, or I still have asthma, or, you know, such and such. Let me get a drink real quick. I'm trying to read quickly, because sometimes I notice I'm slowing down. If I'm reading too slow, let me know. Or if I'm reading too fast, let me know. Okay, now get this. So he ends with, he just said he can fix all this if you can discharge the reactive engram bank. Now get this. These are scientific facts. They compare invariably with observed experience. So he's saying it's scientific fact, which it isn't, and that they have observed it. So he's always talking about these vague tests and these vague scientific facts when he just wrote the book. It's fiction. Or he just stole from all different, religions, and say the VP of Scientology in Austria got cancer, and that was when he realized that it's all bullshit. Yeah, think about all the people just in America that have died from cancer. John Travolta's wife died of cancer, and Kirstie Alley, I believe, died of cancer. And the problem is they don't go get help until it's too late, and then they're stage 4, and then there's nothing they can do. So, yeah, that has to mess with your mind just a little bit. The reactive mind is the entire source of aberration. It can be proved and has been repeatedly proven that there is no other, for when that engram bank is discharged, all undesirable symptoms vanish and a man begins to operate on his optimum pattern. Pretty much he's saying you're a Superman if you can just get rid of your engrams. If one were looking for something like demons in a human mind, only they are not demons. They are bypass circuits from the engram bank. If one did not believe in demons, if one supposed that man were good after all, as a postulate, of course, how would the evil get into him? I'm skipping around, so it may sound funny as far as grammar. Why does man behave destructively, irrationally, fighting wars, killing, ruining whole sections of mankind? What is the source of all neurosis, psychosis, insanities? Let us return to a brief examination of the analytical mind. Let us examine its memory banks. Remember, he talked about earlier, if you don't remember, he talked about how much the mind is a computer. It's the best computer in the world as long as the data is accurate. So he says, again, it is very accurate, as though the organism were equipped with a fine watch. But there is something wrong here about time. It has gaps in it. There are moments when nothing seems to be filed in these standard banks. These are gaps which take place during moments of unconsciousness. That state of being caused by anesthesia, drugs, injury, or shock. This is the only data missing from a standard bank. But the point is that there is something missing which has always been considered by one and all in any age never to have been recorded. Yeah, that too, Thomas. Travolta's son died from untreated epileptic seizures. And if you remember, we never saw him very much. Because I believe he was also autistic, or it had just, maybe the seizures had just hurt his brain that much. But we never saw that son. I do believe John Travolta loved him very much, but Scientology made him hide him away, which is sad. One and all in every age have never been able to put a finger on insanity either. There are two things which appear to be, but are not, recorded in the standard banks: painful emotion and physical pain. I tend to disagree. I can remember a lot of my physical pain, but I see what he's getting at. So I have to stop and talk about it some so they don't get me. So now we're going into moments of unconsciousness and missing information for your computer. He talked about it before. Would you install a fuse? That didn't make sense because I did it in the middle of a paragraph. Let me go read the whole paragraph because that sentence didn't make sense without it. How would you go about building of a sensitive machine upon which the life and death affairs of an organism depended, which was to be the chief tool of an individual? Would you leave its delicate circuits prey to every overload, or would you install a fuse system? If a delicate instrument is in circuit with a power line, it is protected by several sets of fuses. Any computer would be safeguarded. All right, we're into computers again. Well, I really should have taken some ibuprofen. It happens that there is some small evidence to support the electrical theory of the nervous system. Now, remember that this gets me when he's talking about stuff like this, because we know so much more about the brain and the body and the nervous system than we probably did 70 years ago when he wrote this. So we already know that, that's how the body works. Pretty much everybody accepts that's the case. I know my disease affects the brain and central nervous system, which means it affects everything. So I have serious aberrations. All the way to sometimes clothes hurt my skin, or I jerk, or it's affected my eyesight. Sometimes I can't smell. Sometimes I taste funny things. It's fibromyalgia. Can't explain it. Okay. So I'm going to read that sentence again. It happens that there is some small evidence, we have large evidence now, to support the electrical theory of the nervous system. In pain, there are very heavy overcharges in the nerves. It may well have been, and elsewhere, some Dianetic computations have been made about this, that the brain is the absorber for overcharges of power resulting from injury, the power itself being generated by the injured cells in the area of injury. That whole section had no punctuation except the comma. This guy, did he ever take an English class? All right. That is theory. Okay, so for overcharges of power resulting from injury, the power itself being generated by the injured cells in the area of injury. That is theory and has no place here save to serve as an example. But you did this whole paragraph, some you're not going to use. We are dealing now only with scientific fact. Well, okay. His scientific fact. Okay. The action of the analytical mind during a moment of intense pain is suspended. As an example, a man struck in the side by a car is knocked unconscious, and on regaining consciousness has no record of the period when he was knocked out. Well, that's kind of normal. Yeah, so he says, Scooter Mom. Yeah, so he says, because there's no bibliography in here. I showed it before. The bibliography is all Scientology books. So these studies and scientific fact, he doesn't relate where this was done or where he got this information. This is the only data missing from the standard bank. So when you're unconscious. But the point is that there is something missing which has always been considered by one and all in any age never to have been recorded. Well, I think we know now that we've figured out on our own without L. Ron Hubbard telling us that there are times when you're unconscious that you do remember things. People in comas, people that have thought they were unconscious, but later on memories start to come back. So no, maybe up until this point, but now things are different. There are two things which appear to be but are not recorded in the standard banks. Painful emotion and physical pain. He said that again. Wait a minute. Am I rereading something? I think I did. The data missing. No, I read that. Okay, I ended with the scientific fact. Okay. The action of the analytical mind during a moment of intense pain is suspended. I read that. Oh, the car. Okay, here I am. I was on the wrong page. Sorry about that. I know, Scooter Mom. He repeats himself. He'll just change the words around. So it takes like half a page to say something he could have said in maybe 4 sentences. So yeah, that does get confusing. All right. The man struck, knocked out. Okay. That's okay. So the guy was hit by a car. He was knocked out. The answer to the problem of making the organism react in moments of unconsciousness or near unconsciousness is also the answer to insanity and psychosomatic illnesses and all the strange mental quirks to which people are liable and which gave rise to the fable, it is human to err. So he pretty much says it's not human to err. In past chapters, he said the computer of our brain is a computer. It's perfect. It runs perfectly as long as it has perfect data, which I don't know. My brain has never been perfect, so I'm not sure where he gets some of that stuff. All right, moving on. All right, how long have we been on here? Okay, wow, went fast. Let's see. So now he's listing some things. So clinical tests prove these statements to be scientific facts. Number 1, the mind records on some level continuously during the entire life of the organism, which we just talked about. We know that people do tend to remember things when they're unconscious. Number 2, all recordings of the lifetime are available. Not always so. Number 3, unconsciousness, in which the mind is oblivious of its surroundings, is possible only in death and does not exist as total amnesia in life. But a computer program is only as good as the writer of the program. Scooter Mom, did you hear me say that before? Because I have said that most since computers came, because I haven't always been around computers. They came around in the 80s, 90s. But I always said, I used to joke when a computer would mess up. I'm like, well, it's only as good as the person that programmed it. I say that all the time. I mean, I got to read that one again because, okay. Unconsciousness, when I do that he has it in quotation, in which the mind is oblivious of its surroundings, is possible only in death and does not exist as total amnesia. Okay. So he's saying that even though you're unconscious, it should be available, and only in death does your consciousness stop. Hi, Becca. Oh, so you just said it too. Yeah. Number 4, all mental and physical derangements of a psychic nature come about from moments of unconsciousness. Don't agree with that at all. All mental and physical derangements of a psychic nature, which is his opinion, come about from moments of a consciousness. Yeah, I disagree with that. Number 5, such moments can be reached and drained of charge, which the result of returning the mind to optimum operating conditions. So how do we drain the charge? I hope he gets into that because I don't remember him doing so. Unconsciousness is the single source of aberration. That's a bold statement. If you care to make the experiment, you can take a man, render him unconscious, hurt him, and give him information. By Dianetic technique, no matter what information you gave him, it can be recovered. This experiment should not be carelessly conducted because you might also render him insane. Oh, I forgot about this part. He's going to get into hypnotism and stuff. And so I left a lot of the examples of hypnotism out because it was just example out, on and on. We know how most of us have seen a hypnotist hypnotize somebody. That's what he's going to get into. All right. There is what is known as post-hypnotic suggestion. An understanding of this can assist an understanding of the basic mechanism of insanity. A man is placed in a hypnotic trance by standard hypnotic technique or some hypnotic drug. The operator then may say to him, when you awaken, there is something you must do. He just goes into this whole thing about, if I touch my tie, you will sneeze or something like that. And I just moved on. The subject is then awakened. He is not consciously aware of the command. If told he had been given an order while asleep, he would resist the idea or shrug, but he would not know. Then the operator touches his tie and the subject does what he was commanded to do. And then the subject says, oh, well, I did that on purpose. He tries to rationalize why he did what the guy hypnotized him to do. That's what that whole page is about. At last, the subject may become aware from the expression on people's faces that something is wrong. He will not know what is wrong. He will not even know that the touching of the tie is the signal which makes him take off his coat. That was the command. Some more stuff about that. These various actions are very important to an understanding of the reactive mind. And then he goes into hypnotism as a laboratory tool. All right. Oh, did I want to read that? Hold on. Okay. Hypnotism was a variable help to discover the source of insanity, and understanding the mechanism of the post-hypnotic suggestion can aid in understanding of the aberration. If that were true, we would have solved insanity by now, but with hypnotism, we'd all be good. No matter how foolish a suggestion is given to a subject under hypnosis, he will carry it out one way or another. Any suggestion will operate within his mind unbeknownst to his higher levels of awareness. Very complex suggestions can be given. One such would be to the effect that he was unable to utter word I, and then he would omit it from all of his conversation without being aware. He will continue to operate that suggestion until released by the hypnotic operator. He can be told that he has an urge to sneeze every time he hears the word rug, and he will do these things after he has been awakened. These are compulsions. In further experiments, he can be told when he is in his hypnotic sleep that he is the president of the country and that the Secret Service agents are trying to murder him. Or he can be told that he is being fed poison in every restaurant in which he attempts to eat. These are psychosis. I wish hypnotism worked that good. I really do. I'd use it. All right. There's more. much, much more. We're only on page 79. This goes to 94. So I have an end. Matter of fact, I have an ending point because it starts into a new subject. So we don't have much more. I'm only going to do half because I don't want to do readings that are more than an hour. All right. So we did the psychosis. He can be informed that he is really another person and that he owns a yacht and answers to the name of Sir Reginald. Or he can be told that he is a thief, that he has a prison record, and that the police are looking for him. These would be called schizophrenic and paranoid schizophrenic insanities, respectively. I wish it had worked to help me quit smoking, but it didn't. I still quit, but by vaping years later. That's the way my husband did it. But yeah, I know. We would use that crap. Everybody. The hypnotists would be millionaires. I think maybe it works on some people, but I'm still not sure about it. The operator can inform the subject that the subject is most wonderful person on earth and that everybody thinks so, or that the subject is the object of adoration of all women. This would be called manic type insanity. He can be convinced while hypnotized that when he wakes, he will feel so terrible that he will hope for nothing but death. This would be the depressive type insanity. So let me finish the list and then. So is he trying to say that everybody's insanities, somebody hypnotized them, or that's just a way to have insanity? I'm still not sure. I mean, I know what he means. I know it's all bullcrap. I'm still just, I'm still trying to understand it. I know, wow. That's what I'm going at this book with is, being an observer and looking at what he thought, what he wrote, and then what people who were reading this at that time thought, because we have the internet now. All this, honest to God, anybody that is buying this book from Scientology right now, Marco, my husband, he knew a guy, because he used to work the hotels in North Austin. He knew a guy that had a great business renting those scooters. And the guy was a schizophrenic. And he didn't take medicine. But the guy had it kind of under control. He said, when he's doing well, and he had a problem with drugs. So when my husband would see him at Motel 6, he wasn't doing very well. He either had bought some drugs or whatever, but he had people that worked for him that would pick up the scooters, and he always stayed in hotels. When he was doing good, he would stay at the Hyatt, a really nice hotel. And he said the way that he kept it under control is if he saw something crazy, he told himself it wasn't real, and he knew it wasn't real. That's got to take some serious mental gymnastics. I mean, some determination to do that. Not a lot of people can. Marco, that was so funny. All right. Moving on. Okay, we did the depressive type. All right. He can be told that all he can think about is how sick he is, and that every malady of which he reads becomes his. This would make him react like a hypochondriac. Thus, we could go down the catalog of mental ills, and by concocting positive suggestions to create the state of mind, we could bring about in the awakened subject a semblance to every insanity. Understood that these are semblances. Okay, so he's saying they can hypnotize him into a semblance of sanity. Well, that kind of contradicts the fact that he's trying to say that it can be cured. They are similar to insanity in that the subject would act like an insane person. He would not be an insane person. Okay, so he's saying if somebody hypnotized him to this stuff, okay, he would have the semblance of insanity. Okay, I get it now. He would not be an insane person. The moment the suggestion is relieved, the subject being informed that it was a suggestion, the aberration, and all these insanities, etc., are grouped under the heading of aberration, theoretically vanishes. Oh, I got to read this. So when he has notations by a word, usually it's just a definition. This is kind of interesting. There's a paragraph. So 18. So when it says the aberration theoretically vanishes. Oh, that's okay, Sandy. The only time I really need the mods is when I go vertical. When I'm not in the shorts, I don't have too many troubles. I can handle it. But thank you, Sandy. Thanks for popping in. Okay, so this is what he's saying about that at the bottom here. An injunction here. These are tests. They have been made on people who could be hypnotized and people who could not be, but who were drugged. They brought forth valuable data for Dianetics. They can be duplicated only when you know Dianetics, unless you want to actually drive somebody insane by accident. For these suggestions do not always vanish. Hypnotism is a wild variable. It is dangerous and belongs in the parlor in the same way you would want an atom bomb there. Okay. So, okay. I'd like to know where he was at that they were doing these tests. Sounds kind of not legal. All right. Where did we end? Okay, we were up here. Theoretic vanishes. The duplication of aberrations of all classes and kinds and subjects who have been hypnotized or drugged has demonstrated that there is some portion of the mind which is not in contact with the consciousness but which contains data. Yeah, I know, Scooter Mom. I that stuck in my brain too. By accident? Or maybe he's giving you all this information so you can do it for real? Or has he? Who knows? There's a lot of people that he was around. But if LRH was near any of those tests, that would explain a lot. Yeah. I didn't think of it that way. Yeah. That's some food for thought. We're almost done. So I'm only going to go halfway. Okay. So all right. It was the search for this portion of the mind which led to the resolution of the problem of insanity, psychosomatic ills, and other aberrations. It was not approached through hypnotism, and hypnotism is just another tool, a tool which is of only occasional use in the practice of Dianetics and is indeed not needed at all. He just said that hypnotism is a tool that is occasionally used in Dianetics. I would love to know if anybody was part of that. If anybody knows or heard somebody talk about that, I want to know. Here we have an individual who is acting sanely, who is given a positive suggestion, and who then temporarily acts insanely. But he was given a positive suggestion. His sanity is restored by the release of the suggestion in his consciousness. Okay, I get it. Review the first example of the positive suggestion. The subject was unconscious, which is to say, he was not in possession of complete awareness or self-determinism. complete awareness or self-determinism. He was given something he must do, and the something was hidden from his consciousness. The operator gave him a signal. When the signal occurred, the subject performed an act. The subject gave reasons for the act, which were not the real reasons for it. The suggestion was released, and the subject no longer felt a compulsion to perform the act. These are the parts of aberration. Once one knows exactly what parts of what are aberrations, the whole problem is very simple. It seems incredible at first glance that the source could have remained so thoroughly hidden for so many thousands of years of research. But at second glance, it becomes a wonder that the source was ever discovered, for it is hidden cunningly and well. Now, this is what I'm ending there. I still want to talk about it. So the next half is unconsciousness of the non-hypnotic variety is a little more rugged. So that was a good place to stop. It's going to get into kind of a new subject. The unconsciousness of like when you're injured or you hit your head or something like that. So pretty much, oh, I know, Scooter Mom, that gets me too, because he doesn't say I did this, I did that. He leaves it vague, kind of lets you determine, oh, well, he must have done all these tests, or he was in on these tests, or he did, because there's other things where he said, I did research, I went to all these different countries, and I researched everywhere, and he traveled. Hey, Nikolai, oh, you got to go back and watch it, listen to it. This one was really interesting as far as pretty much, and I only read half the chapter, it was so long. Pretty much he's telling us that not only can he cure psychosomatic ills, but that our physical ills are caused by our mind, and that pretty much he can teach us to fix it through Dianetics and through maybe hypnotism. Oh, I know. And I've always said, I know he got a lot of the mind control and the propaganda and the attack and the OSA. OSA reminds me of the SS. I know that guy in Germany in World War II. I think he studied him a lot. I really do. If you haven't watched, he really used the placebo effect on people. That, and I wonder how much it sounds like he studied hypnotism in depth. We're talking, a lot of this chapter was hypnotism. And I wonder if that's not incorporated in some of these drills and training that Scientologists go through, Sea Org staff, and that maybe that's in a way how he got so many people to believe his, stuff. Yeah, self-hypnotism, very possibly. But I come to think of it, because I only know when you see a hypnotist doing a show, they do something. But, think about all these drills we hear Aaron and Nor and so many people talk about when they talk about the drills, and it's repetitive, repetitive, just over and over and over again. That has to be a form of hypnotism, and gets you, changes your brain. Oh, I wanted that one. Yeah. So I wonder how, and he was also friends with Aleister Crowley and his and they knew how to mind control people too. So, you know, it really made me think how much did he study it? Maybe he studied it very, very in depth. Yeah, so naturally they think they're improved. And also the classic snake oil. Let me switch glasses. There we go. Also, classic snake oil sales pitch. If it doesn't work, you do it wrong. Of course. Yeah. If it's not working, it's your fault. So if you don't get cured or you don't come clear, you can't tell anybody. You're going to lie to yourself. We talked about that in the very beginning. That, he's saying that he can cure your physical illnesses. When they don't get cured, what do? They worked loads with psychology and behavioral methods in a nefarious way. Yeah, he did. Guardian's office before OSA. Yeah, Guardian's office. Sounds a bit like the SS. The enforcers, the investigators. They went after people that didn't toe the line. It just so reminds when they talk about the snitching culture and the KRs and the writing things on people. I guess I've watched a lot of history about Germany and World War II and the propaganda, and because you can't blame all the people in Germany, because he owned all the media. So I'm sorry, I'm talk with my hands and I'm shaking the computer. And it was a snitching culture then too, because if you didn't snitch, you got in trouble, and it was horrendous what you would have to go through. You didn't want to go through it. And then there were those. I actually read a whole fictional series around World War II. The people, it was historically accurate, but the main characters in the books, they were fiction. But everything that happened was real. And so I saw a lot of it was before it started all the way to the end of World War II in Germany. There are many studies about group and peer pressure as the test, where 5 subjects in a room has choose the longest line. One is a subject, the others were in on it, and they made him reply wrong. And don't forget, it was a big Stanford or somebody, I think in the 70s, they did an experiment where there were prisoners and there were guards. And they literally had to cut it off after it was only 5 or 6 days that they had gotten into that mindset, and the guards were treating the prisoners like crap. The prisoners could leave, but when they asked to leave, they would tell them, well, but it'll mess up the not test, what do they call that? I saw The Wave. Yeah, I saw that movie. And they had to shut it down. Everybody had just gone into this like it was real, and it was horrible. And it was only like 4 or 5 days. So we know it's real. We know mind control is real. And we know being in a group setting of mind control is even more powerful. And I think he incorporated that into a lot of the drills and a lot of the training and the repetition and the snitching culture. I was getting into the Germans. So there were a lot of Germans that really didn't know what was going on, that didn't know. They were told they were just moving the Jews to other places. They didn't even know that there were the camps. Just regular normal people going to their job that didn't know anything for a long time. And when they finally did find out, it was too late to do anything about it. So many people were involved. So many people were indoctrinated. So many people, so it was too late to really do anything about it. But we did have the resistance, and they did help. So many experiences and tests have been very harmful and badly prepared. Yeah. Well, I don't think anybody would have expected that to happen so quickly by, I'm going to do that real quick. Information blackout is an important tool in cult and oppression. And that's exactly what Adolf did. He took over all the media. And so, like I said, he wrote this book in the 50s after he was in World War II. I don't even know if he went overseas or not, but they were aware of, he had to be aware of what was going on. He had to be aware, how maybe that worked out. And, he wrote other books later, so he had more time maybe to study that propaganda and how did he turn a whole country. Goebbels, I'm not sure if I'm saying that, was his mastermind among others. Oh, it's fine. No, I want engagement. I was gonna put the link in if anybody actually wants to. If I can figure out how to do it. Give me a second. Copy. Oh wait, you don't have to type so much. But yeah, I mean, and something else I learned in watching these documentaries, actually Adolf learned that propaganda from the United States and Churchill from earlier, like World War I or some other things that they did as far as propaganda and how to work it. So he actually learned from Americans in other countries. So that was trippy when I found that out. So yeah, it's all about who controls the narrative, who controls the information. Oh, hello. Hello. What's up?
Hello. Let me know if there's any feedback, too much feedback.
Nope, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good
Yeah.
now. But
Sorry for being so chatty.
oh no, it's fine. I'm like that too. So
Yeah.
no, I want engagement. That's good.
This
I
is an area
I
I'm
get
very,
tired of my
very
own voice.
interested in.
But yeah. What do you think about that? The similarities.
Oh, it's a history that will keep repeating itself. You only need to look at today's politics in the United States without going into
Right.
modern day politics,
Right.
or you can look at what's happening eastward in Europe, as example.
Mm-hmm.
And also, when you look at, I always sense that people lack the critical thinking book, because if someone sounds convinced and powerful, that conveys a message of credibility, even that they will be lying.
Yes.
So
Right.
much of the problem is maybe not the message as it is, but the packaging and the way they deliver it, and
Yes.
also the lack of critique and fact checking. Because
Yes.
many people, I mean, when you have done a whole work week and you sit down and watch the evening news or whatever, a show, the last thing you want to do is start to fact check things.
You're
You
right.
kind of place your trust in. So in a sense, you get slipped in this little confirmation bubble.
The same thing. I agree with the same thing with social media now.
Yeah,
There's so many people that because it's on the internet, they believe it. Early on in Facebook, because I was never like the MySpace and all that, but early on in Facebook, before that's been a while,
yeah,
things would get shared, and I would get something, I'd reshare it. Oh, that's interesting. My husband did the same thing. Well, there was a thing that went around back then. There was one about John Denver, If you guys don't know who he is, he was a country
Oh, I
singer.
know him. He's a great artist.
And there was this thing going around that he was in the special forces and a sniper in the military. Then after that, they said Mr. Rogers was a sniper in the military, and the reason he wore sweaters is to cover all of his tattoos. And I decided to start fact checking things like that. And I found out it was total bull.
Yeah.
But everybody was believing it because everybody was sharing it. It sounded credible. Now, and so, but you only had, there's so much more things now, but back then it was only Facebook, pretty much. And so we started learning to be skeptical of what we see on the internet. But so many people today, young people, they're believing what they see on TikTok. Somebody puts it out on TikTok, it gets 1 million views, everybody believes it, and nobody's fact checking.
What
That's where they
was
get
that
their news.
the Germans said? They said something about if you repeat a lie many times enough, people will take it as a truth.
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Marco, that's a perfect one. I've seen one other with Winston Churchill and also some others.
Yeah.
But yes, I think people, it isn't really that difficult. Sorry if the picture is a little bit off.
Okay.
They always consider the source, from whom, why, to whom.
Right.
Those 4 questions shouldn't be that hard. It takes practice.
Mm-hmm.
And also to never accept everything like the gospel. Just because, have you seen, I mean, you're from close to Austin, right?
Yes, I live
There's
near
a guy
Austin.
called Matt Dillahunty not far from you.
What's
He
his name?
is Matt Dillahunty. He is in the atheist movement. So he's been on the Atheist Experience, very interesting show. I mean, whoever wants to have the faith and belief, that's fine by me. But he has made some very convincing arguments also about not accepting things on blind faith, which is the problem many people do. So I mean, like he said, just because someone tells you, if someone tells you 15 things and the 14 first are true, you can't just by automatically assume that the 15th also will be true. You need to
That's
check
true.
everything. And that's the problem with many of these lies. They mix in a little bit of truth, enough to make it credible, and then people will just swallow the Kool-Aid.
Well, just like we're learning, 'cause I honestly don't watch mainstream news that much anymore. But think about all these celebrities that we were like, oh, they must be great people, because they're a celebrity and they're telling people, who to vote for. And then you find out they're a depraved, very bad individual behind the scenes. And
That's
so
also
I've gotten to
something.
where just because they're a celebrity, I don't necessarily think that anymore.
I think people would really need to look aside from just because it's someone representing your side of the aisle.
Right.
Because you have a two-party system basically in the United States. Here in Sweden, we have, I think, 7 parties or something like that.
Wow.
At least right now.
Wow.
So we have, on the grand scale, we have.
I wish we did too, because sometimes you're like, I don't like either side right now. And
The
you don't
problem
have
with
a
your
third
system is it's too polarized.
Right.
It gets to either or. So many times people have to. It's like choosing between the plague or the cholera.
Right. The lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's always a problem in that case. So I mean.
So LRH kind of reminds me of Adolf, because Adolf got this mindset into the people of, a certain look, and and he didn't even have that look. That's the part that used to blow me away. Is he was like blonde hair, blue eyes, and he had brown eyes and dark hair.
Yeah, but
And
he
they
had
were like,
a very
believed everything
strong
he said.
presence, and I mean, he was a showman. He really was a showman. He
Right.
really knew how to present it, and he had lots of help because,
And I think
to be
that's
honest, he did good things in the start.
where
He sold his stuff. I mean, he used his influence. So when people saw
just
he did
enough
some good
good to
things,
get
then
you hooked.
yeah. So I mean, that's a little bit what I hate when some people say about the both sides and what about this. But I mean, you have to look at the whole deal. I'm not saying I accept what he did. I don't say I like what he did, but I have to see what happened. It's like in Italy and Mussolini,
Right.
where the term fascism is born.
I just watched a documentary on him.
Yeah, that's the same. They used to call
Yeah.
it activism before they used to call it fascism because they wanted to activate people. And when people are struggling and have bad times, if someone gives you something to do, that's what LRH does.
Exactly.
So this playbook keeps repeating itself. I mean, like I told one of my friends, if I was more nefarious in my personality, I could have
Hi, Scooter
started my
Mom.
own cult without any problem, and that's a scary thought.
Hmm.
Okay, I don't have maybe that personality and that mm, charisma that's needed. I don't know, but still, in much, it's about how you package it, how you deliver it, and make sure people don't react when they swallow it.
Yeah. That's why I think, because like I said, I went into this curious to see what he wrote, how he wrote it, and to think about, okay, what were people like that wanted to get into this? And I mean, we're only this far in, and he's telling people that he can cure their ills and making it sound credible. And people back then, didn't have a wide variety of places to go for mental health issues. It wasn't talked about, it was hidden 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, where a lot of
Also,
these
yeah,
second and third gen parents came from.
yeah, and also if you remember, if you look at the development, I mean, much of the research they did in the late 30s and during the war gave results. Also, same thing with the space program. Like, not many people know that the ballpoint pen and microwave oven is thanks to
Right.
the
Yes.
Apollo program. Stuff like that. I mean, many of those things. So when technique and society takes leaps, sometimes people kind of get gaps of what's from where, and that's what people like him can abuse and use.
Hmm.
So he can insert that. Yeah, you see that I can do this.
Hmm. Yeah, because nowadays, we're looking at this from now with all of the information we have now and all the celebrities and stuff we have now. I hear he was a charismatic person,
Yeah.
and he talked like he knew what he was doing.
Well,
He,
that's part of it
yeah, because I mean,
because
he makes it sound so scientific, yet we don't know where he actually got it from.
I mean, lots of the convincing is about the tone and the way you deliver it.
Hmm.
If I'm
Yeah,
telling you with a certain voice, it is raining in your room right now, even that it's not, it convinces more than I would say, is it raining in your room?
that's exactly what they do in Scientology, from what I
Yeah.
understand. From listening to the ex members, that yeah, that's the training that they go through, the policies that he wrote, the drills. The drills really get me because I was in the military. And so we did drills over and over and over again till it
Yeah.
becomes second nature.
I know I did conscription, so it's not identical, but I know what you mean. I mean, some things were just supposed. You were supposed to know what to do, and certain you were not supposed to start to ask questions when bullets start to fly. You were supposed to know take cover or whatever.
Right.
I mean, there are always nuggets, useful nuggets in every of those cults.
Yeah, I can understand. Yeah, I can totally understand how, because I also watched, documentary on Jim Jones, and that started out really great. They always start out really great, and they're like, oh, this is wonderful. This is going to help me. This is, so I can understand, people reading some of this. A lot of it probably hurt their brain and they didn't understand it, but they did hear the part that, well, we can cure your ills and cure your psychosomatic problems. And, so people with issues or problems that needed help and were looking for help thought they found it.
Yeah, but that's what they keep saying now when they do these free personality tests, and they always find, oh, you look fine, but this little thing, we can help you fix it. Because if it's always that they never say you're wrong or you're bad. It's always like we can improve you. It's always like sweetened. And here in Sweden, we had a few years ago a really terrible example of a Pentecostal cult in a place outside north of Stockholm, in a place called Knutby.
Really?
Yeah, and that was a religious cult, even where a female leader claimed to be the bride of the Christ. And what happens was there was, as always, lots of sex and stuff happening, and infidelity and stuff.
I actually skipped over a chapter we were reading and he touched on it. He always seems to touch on that in here too.
Yeah, but that's because many times religions and cults will take control over your basic needs.
Right.
Comfort, food, urges.
Make you rely on them.
Yeah. So they dictate who can and who cannot. So they feel like they have to earn their own rights. That's part of that system. So anyway, if you look up Knutby, there's a lot about it. There's even, I think they made a TV series. Well, but all in short, there was a preacher there who manipulated a young girl to murder his own wife.
Ooh. Ooh. Wow.
And there was there's lots of talk. I thought you might like it if you like this kind of.
If after we're done, if you could give me a link in the comments or something, that would be very helpful.
Look it up for
I
you.
would like to read about it. But yeah,
But still,
that's the thing.
applies.
I was sorry to interrupt you.
No,
that's the thing about David Miscavige is there are some ex-members that are like, no, he didn't do this or that. I don't believe they went that far. But then I think about it and I'm like, look, this guy has 20,000 people maybe under his thumb. And they, and then you've got the smaller group that work with him all the time.
Yeah.
And he could probably get his followers to do quite a bit for him if he asked.
And he's not stupid. He's not stupid. He wouldn't be where he is if he was stupid.
Right.
So the same thing is always, they gaslight you as soon as they don't want you to tell your story or to defend yourself. And that's when we come back to, like that Stanford study, where they tricked this guy to say which line was longer or shorter. I think there was some other right and wrong answers, but it's all about conforming.
You know what I'm going to do for anybody listening? I'm going to find that study about the prisoners and the guards, and I'm going to put a link in the description for that, because that blew me away. that it happened so quickly. You know, you would think something like that would happen, take weeks or months, and it literally took days.
Well, the human brain is a very, very sensitive machine, basically. And I mean that once you disrupt the brain chemistry, you never know what happens. That's why you have these MK Ultra and all these nefarious. That's one of my favorite words. These different mind control studies, especially. I mean, both the KGB, GRU,
Mm-hmm.
the CIA, and
Yep.
I'm pretty sure the Brits have their own, the French have their own. I'm pretty sure most countries have their own studies about truth serums and how to influence. I mean, like LSD was created
Mm-hmm.
with a purpose,
Mm-hmm. And you
and they
know,
let it loose before because they wanted to distract people from thinking.
right. And years ago, when I was younger, I used to think, oh, our government would never do that. That's just a conspiracy theory. And then it comes out that they did. So then
Yeah.
I'm thinking, well, Operation Mockingbird, Marco. I don't recognize that name, but I
I
probably
think I
heard about it.
recognize the name of it, but if you remember the movie Independence Day,
Yeah.
when they talk about Area 51, and the president says there is no such place as like like that, and his advisor said, "Well, actually," and then when they get there, and he asks why, because of what was plausible
Plausible
deniability.
deniability.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and I mean that means I mean we are not. Same thing is when people ask us information about some creators or what's going on and stuff. I mean, even if we know things, not everything is meant for public knowledge right now. I mean, those involved should have the right to decide if and when they want to share it.
Right.
But that's
Yeah.
also people
That's
love
why
gossip.
this isn't so far fetched anymore,
No,
from what we know. But back then, this stuff wasn't common knowledge. And so that I can see how he got so many people involved, that now have kids and grandkids that have been indoctrinated. And that's
yeah,
why I feel so sorry for the people inside. And I just can't, I yell things at them like, you can get out, or things like that. But I can't yell insults to them because a lot of them, may have been indoctrinated since they were kids
and
or,
also I mean they're being desensitized. They're
right.
being trained to not react when someone says something. So
They
it's
think
really
we're
about
evil.
you need to find that key to the prison. And I
Yeah.
think I've said that in a few chats before that
Hmm.
the hardest prison to break out of is the one you're fooled to build for yourself and enter.
When I hear ex members talk about, going in the Sea Org or being in the ranches and stuff, and it's exactly like that. And he makes sure that you're walled off from even your spouse
Yeah. Same
because
thing
you
is
have
like
to
you've
snitch on
seen,
your spouse too.
yeah. And same thing with these people, like we have heard people that tell about their friends going into the org to do this test. They
Hmm.
get separated directly because it starts from scratch. You are not allowed to have someone who is from the outside when they start to process you.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's also a big reason why.
That's why he likes college students, because you get somebody far from home that's lonely, that doesn't have any friends or family, that might wander in, and they're looking for something. And
Yeah,
that's the whole point of why I go to Austin, to
yeah,
make sure
because
somebody
they
like that
love
doesn't
to
walk
pick
in.
up searchers and stragglers. I mean,
Right.
they are not stupid. They it's many times. I mean, advertising is about creating a need and then offering the product.
Yep.
And same thing is about this. I mean, you get manipulated every day you go into the grocery store. I mean, how many people know that they play certain music to get you in a certain mood to buy stuff, and also they pump out scents and stuff to make you buy some fruit and stuff you weren't even supposed to, or like
Yeah.
the smell of fresh bread and stuff like that.
I was gonna say the bread, they actually put the odor on the outside of the packages.
Yeah.
That's why when you go in the bread aisle, it's so strong.
Yeah.
And then you got, I worked in retail, and the way you place things around the registers, and things like that. Marco says it's a secret operation of the CIA how to influence the media.
Yeah, I think isn't there a channel? I've seen something on YouTube about this secret CIA files and the different stuff. So Mockingbird, I recognize that one, and there are so many more. But I mean, oh hey,
Hi,
you should let
OHN.
her. You should invite her to the chat. She's very knowledge. She's very good at talk. Also, if you want to invite in.
Hold on. Go away.
Because we have had many talks about these similar things. I think you would get very good input from her, actually.
But yeah, I mean, I've been really interested in this kind of stuff, and it didn't, until like recently even, I didn't realize how. Okay, I get it.
We take another time then, but
Yeah.
still, yes, because many times you do look at people like whoever screwed that machine up, or however can that person even find their own way out of the door, stuff like that. I mean, what makes that person tick?
Then we look at people like Aaron and Nora and Liz. They're all very smart people, great personalities, but they were just indoctrinated at a young age, and it took them, like you said, they have to find the key to the prison, and hopefully that's what this movement will help them do. That I love that people who have gotten out say, well, one little nugget of information, one thing a protester said got them to think.
Yeah, and also the most amazing thing is you each do it differently.
If you want
If
to.
everyone would follow a script, you could bet they would run a tech against that specific script. And that's why they keep failing, because you always, like Serge does his, Michael does his, Aaron does his, Jay, Selfless, Pearl, Liz, and Liz, all of them, everyone have their personal touch to it. That means it changes the flavor, so they can't like put a filter just to stop everything out.
Yeah, if we were all doing exactly the same thing, they could ignore it more. Oh, there she is. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey.
Welcome.
So we just finished, I don't know if you were watching, but I only got to go through half the chapter of the Reactive Mind.
Right.
But he's pretty much saying that he can cure everything, even your physical ailments, with the mind. And then we got into talking about propaganda, with because remember, LRH was in World War II, and I think he got a lot of the propaganda control from Adolf.
Yeah.
And
Adolf, and I think also CIA and others, because.
And then all the stuff that's happened, since then. And, we were just talking about that, and that we were talking about talking about the movement, is maybe they have to find the key to their own, what did you say, to their
own personal
prison in their mind.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely how you approach it, and the fact that we have so many different approaches to how people are protesting and so forth is a good thing, because what might work to reach out and touch that person that's in or thinking about going in might be different. And so being able to have a different approach, some might respond to Pearl Snappy's yelling. Some might respond to Laura, them walking with them and talking. Some might respond to what they see on the signs. It's just, different approaches work to reach
also, I
different
think,
people.
As long as
Yeah.
we don't ever border on illegal, I think
Yes.
everything is good, is going to work somewhere.
and also I think that the reoccurring meetings with these people,
Mhm.
I mean, in the beginning they can keep up the wall, but if you keep being friendly and nice to them and keep offering them information,
Mhm.
sooner or later that little seed of doubt will start to grow.
There, before, when there, what I heard about protests is they would schedule them, they would go once or twice a month.
Mhm.
They have to wonder, why is this person coming all the time?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Several times a week for
Right.
months.
Right.
Yeah.
And it has to make them think. If you come like one day a month or something, they can ignore you.
Yes. Well, I
And
mean, the other
also,
side of that is there's no planning at all to it. It's not like you show up every Sunday at 1:00.
That they can be ready for.
Exactly. People are showing up at 10 in the morning. People are showing up at 4 in the afternoon. People are showing up on the Friday graduation day. There's no way that they can plan. And I think that's what's bothering them so much about this movement, is that there's no way that they can plan ahead or, deal with the fact that these people are not on any particular schedule, and you see different people on different days at different places and that type of stuff. They don't know how to deal with that.
Right.
and they
I
set
think.
traps. They try to set traps also when they know you're coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
When they know that you're going to be there, they're going to either set up somebody who's going to move in and create a court or arrest issue, or they're
That's true.
going to plan something that's going to have everybody away from where, you can be seen and heard, without any scheduling. They don't have the opportunity to say, okay, at 2:00 we're moving to the innermost room in the building and doing touch assists or whatever, that so that we're not heard and we're not seen.
And
Yeah,
same,
there was 2 times I showed up, and one of them was pretty early. They were already closed up, and I didn't.
Right.
The one time that happened before, a long time ago, Pearl Snappy was on her bike and went by, but I didn't get any feedback that anybody had been there before me. And I schedule it sometimes the night before, just to let people know I'm coming.
Right.
So
well, like you let me know.
then I
when you're
didn't schedule it, and it wasn't closed. So I'm kind of playing around with that to see what they're doing.
Yeah, I think
I'm
they're
pretty
watching.
sure they're following many people on the YouTube. I mean, they have many slaves. I mean, they have a bunch just watching.
Yeah, I think if you're scheduling, if you say, okay, I'm going to be out there tomorrow at 2, they have people who are watching, and depending on the org, I think they probably in Austin had somebody who was assigned to watch those that come out and protest, i.e. Pearl Snappy, Selfless Self You, and some of the others. Now, I doubt they're watching me because I've only been once, but if I start making a point of going out, then they probably will start watching me as well. And so if you're going to schedule something and you want people to know so that they come with you, then the way to do that is via email, so that nobody knows other than the people involved, or messenger or something like that.
I need to start, because I used to
one.
always schedule for 2 reasons. One, to let people know I was coming, so there'd be people watching, but also because it kind of forces me to, I have to go, I'm scheduled, because there are days I'm like,
well,
but I need to start surprising more often.
Yeah, I think here's the deal, Kim, and I will, once we go off the stream, I will give you my email so that you can flat out email me. I don't know if you have it or not. But here's the deal. I mean, it's not necessarily scheduling, but if you come to me and say, okay, I'm going out on Saturday, do you want me to come get you? Because I have a vehicular issue. Do you want me to come get you? And I say, sure, let's do this. I don't have anything going that particular day. Like Friday, I have a lot going on, so Friday's a bad day. But like maybe Wednesday or something like that, if you were to contact me and say, hey, I'm going out on Wednesday, would you like to come? Sure, I'll go ahead and go. then that also forces you into the same thing that you're saying that with the scheduling forces you into, because
that would help.
somebody's relying on you to get there as well. So so yeah, I mean that is and as for scheduling so people will watch, I think once they see you on and doing it, that they will come.
Usually, and when I haven't scheduled, that's happened just fine.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to stop scheduling ahead of time.
Well,
Yeah.
you could schedule for yourself, but you don't need to show it up.
Right.
Show it for the others. I
Exactly.
mean,
And that's
the
kind of
personal
what
schedule is one thing, but the official one, it's
Yeah. And that's kind of what I'm saying, DJ, is that if she's scheduling and she says, okay, I'm going to come get oh hell no,
Right.
then that that continues a situation where she's looking at now where she's, okay, I'm not making it public, but we have a private schedule.
Right.
That,
Yeah.
So
once I'm in the car, I'm good. But, because I have the physical issues sometimes. And I'll be like, it's an hour and a half. I got to load everything up. And
yeah,
I'm getting ready the night before, getting my cooler packs ready and stuff like that. So,
yes.
yeah.
I don't think people realize how much work
goes into it
behind the scenes.
Yeah, goes into it. I mean, I don't have any signs to do. And one of the things that I'd really like to do in one of these days is what I call a silent protest, where, we wear like sandwich boards that say what we need to say. And then we take, duct tape or whatever, something that we can deal with. And
I've
put it over.
Talk about that.
Yeah. And so that we're just standing out there. We're not yelling. We're not saying anything. But we're saying that Scientology silences,
That would be a great idea. I like that.
It adds another dimension to it, and that's important.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, in looking at some of these things in some of the protests, and especially when they're coming out and saying, okay, you're interrupting a religious, whatever they say, and they get people arrested for that. Well, if you're not saying anything,
right.
You can't be
interrupted. I would be very happy to have a specification of what exactly you disturb in that case, because it's one thing to say it's a religious service, but I would like to see what that curriculum or whatever it is about, how it can disturb it.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, who was it that was arrested for disturbing a religious service, and it was a comedy show? I think it was DOA who that happened to.
DOA or Jay?
Possibly.
Okay, one of the two of them. And it was a comedy show. How is that a religious service? How, they can sit there and say they're auditing. Okay, fine, but you're auditing in a soundproof room. How are we disturbing a religious service? But that doesn't matter when you're being arrested for it.
And then again, when they play their loud copyrighted music, and that's, I mean, it's so hypocritical, really.
Yeah, the neighbor tried to say something about it, and the cop was just like, "Go to the city. I'm not dealing with it."
Yeah.
Well, in Austin, I don't think the police in Austin have been safe pointed to a point where they're in on it. Okay, no. I'm sure they are trying to get that way with the police, but at this point, that's not an issue. We're not dealing with the fact that the Austin Police Department and the deputy sheriffs, the Travis County deputy sheriffs, are so pro Scientology because their pockets are being lined by them. And I won't say that won't happen, but
that is always a possibility. And I mean, as long as it is on the table, I never can look away from that. But I was thinking about also one thing that shows that these protests work is how they start to have to work more against key persons. They try to identify how to bring this, what they look at as a house of cards. They try to pull those most important people off the board and think that will weaken.
They think there's leaders, but there's not.
Well, I think if they were to look at the Austin protest group, the people who come out and protest Austin, the person they're most after is Pearl Snappy.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
She and Selfless is kind of the official most known from there. I mean, we have Hitzel, we have Miss Kim, we have you, we have guests from outside. I mean,
with Jay yesterday.
And I know it's working because they're having to go to the suburbs of Austin to put out pamphlets because we
Right.
shut them down in that
Downtown.
area.
Mhm.
That's Cedar Park's not close.
No, it's not.
And
Nor is, I mean, I would think they'd be over here in Pflugerville before they'd be in Cedar Park. You know.
I know. So that surprised me, and I'm considering. I'm going to find out where that donut shop was. I'm considering taking a day and just walking around that street because they obviously did the same thing with some pamphlets of what the real deal is. Because when she told them, they're like, "Oh, take them. We don't want them." Then and just go behind them and let people know and get some more information out.
You know,
I would like
and
to reply to Amy there. I think problem today is that many politicians are safe pointed in one way or another. They get contributions to the campaign.
yeah. But
And
here in Texas,
they get
I
threats
don't.
also, like, if you don't do as we like, we will back up your.
I think there's less because we're getting. I think they had a lot of people years back with the social media. I'm hoping that the newer politicians just don't know and probably don't want to get involved with something religious.
Yeah.
So we need to educate the public, and that's also part of the protest.
Yeah.
And every video we make, I mean, it's like I heard when you explained yesterday on your live. Miss Kim did a very short and brief introduction to many of the things they do. And I mean, it's like she knows it by heart, like running water. So it doesn't take long for her, but she points out some very key questions that should sow some doubt in those people, or even curious or not knowing about it. It should raise some red flags for them that place is toxic.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, one of the thoughts that I have is that, and you'd have to ask people to be willing to put, I mean, they like, Pup Groomer has some great flyers.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to print out some of those.
Yeah. And so you could ask the establishment owner if it's okay to pop one of those flyers in their window.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff. So, sorry, I'm looking for something.
I found something I want to share. If I can put it up in the studio here, I'll see if I can work that one out.
This will work.
Let's see how this one works.
I need to pop some blood sugar up, so I'm going to have some
do
Cheetos. Well, I'm going to have some Cheetos to do that. So if you see me munching on Cheetos. Yeah.
This one is on, as Amy mentioned, the page, SPTV Space.
Right.
There is this one you could use. So if you're going somewhere or planning to go somewhere in your area, you can check this one.
It's small for me. What does that say exactly?
This is This is called I Spy at the sptv.space.
Okay.
So if someone of your friends or anyone sees these body routers, or they did now change place, you can go here and report it.
Oh.
So you cannot. So that way you can help others.
Oh, awesome! I like that.
And also, I mean, if you look at many people miss the top of the page of the SPTV Space. I'm gonna share and show you something important. So I'll remove that one. Let's see.
Okay.
Let's see where we have that one.
Yeah, that's why this movement is, I think, working so well, because we have so many moving parts and people doing.
So now, if you see here on the mouse,
and yeah.
So here's the I Spy. If people see something, report it.
Yeah.
And it's like here we see now when I refresh. I don't know. You can see that refresh, but it says Cubs champion, Great Gatsby. Help Me Film, then Miss Kim, Mamakton, Ono Nora, Solomon Streets. Pretty many is this time. And here we have a new channel in Chicago. So anyway, if you look here, there's a directory where you can check more of the stuff.
Yeah, I did miss that.
Resources and the I Spy, and this one for people either go to Pop Groomer's page or this free flyers page where you get
I
material.
knew they were there. I just hadn't. I gotta
Yeah.
hook up my printer.
Okay, I've got a screen that I'm. If you'll pop that one up with Peace, if
Yeah.
he's done with that. This is one of Pup's flyers. Once you get
You
it
need
up,
the link?
no, there should be a on the stage. It should be. I'm sharing a screen.
Right. Oh, there it is. I gotta scroll down.
Yeah, I removed mine. So
It's the first time I've done. Oh, there it is.
good practice. She has taught me.
Yeah,
a lot.
this is the first time I've done all this. This is fun. I'm learning.
Yeah. Let me. See
Oh
if I
yeah,
can-
that's a really good one.
Yeah, this is one of Pup's right here, and I think it would be really good, like in to use on the streets, and if you can put it to a phone pole or anything
Or
like that.
have
We
it on one of those sandwich boards.
Exactly. That, and then you could put the yes, I know. You could put the URL to the SBTV Foundation
Mhm.
Yeah.
instead of the Stop
When I get my new
Scientology.
sign, it's gonna
Yeah.
be. I can change the sign out. It's gonna be Velcro.
Mhm,
So every time I go out, I can change the sign out.
mhm.
And
That's
so we're
also
working
good.
on that.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm chowing on Cheetos because my alarm is still
Okay.
going off.
It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, Amy said, I wish we could go. We aren't very far from the Capitol, but I know
Yeah.
they're only in session certain times.
Mhm.
I do want to make a trip to the Capitol and just go in every office with some flyers and
Yeah.
talk to people.
Well, I mean, I think you're talking about going straight to the Capitol and talk to the governor. It's going to be hard to get to Abbott here in Texas. So you're not going to be able to just walk in and talk to the governor. But what you can do is contact the state attorney general. And my daughter had to deal with some stuff, had to deal with child protection, but she had CPS wrongly called on her and created an issue. But anyway, she contacted Abbott, was then state attorney general, and she contacted the attorney general's office, and they looked into it and got it all straightened out. But
That
so
would
there,
be some about because all the illegalities that they do, and it wouldn't be a bad thing to contact them.
yeah, and they're pretty. They react pretty quickly and pretty well when they're contacted. So if you run into an issue where you're arrested for something that's just absolutely nutso crazy, like they do, emailing or writing the state attorney general is a good option, and saying, "Hey,
Has Nance Drew done that?
I don't know.
I hope she has.
I don't know.
I'll mention it.
That doesn't stop
One of us
more
can
people
mention
to
it in the
do it. I
chat.
mean, we have to start to. It has to be like a constant presence in their minds.
Yeah.
So like I said,
if we're
we
going
leave-
to affect and make a change, we have to be present very much more.
Yeah.
That's why
think,
many more people are needed, and you people make a very important job.
Yeah, I think if we have people that are at home and have some, for whatever reason, an inability to get out there and protest. I mean, it's one of the things that I should be doing because I don't do it. I don't protest as often, but is write the representatives and senators in your state, not necessarily the national ones, but the state ones, and make them aware of what is going on within their state. And the governors.
And if you're lucky, you can even get to know your local ones.
Yes.
You can always check. I mean, you can start.
You can always
from
start
grassroots
small
level
and work up.
and climb up.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing wrong with contacting the state officials. I mean, after all, we are voters within the state.
Yeah, and you have taxpayers.
And taxpayers within the state. And, granted, Texas does not have a state income tax. We do still deal with the federal income tax.
I pay property taxes.
And we pay property taxes. And so those taxes, go, with Scientology doing what they do, those taxes are paying the fire department and the police department and so on and so forth. and they're not. And so the reality is really and truly they should be answering to the taxpayer in their districts.
Yeah, and
They're
you never
draining the
know
system,
who somebody.
basically.
You never know who might know somebody, higher up, or somebody that you never know who their contacts might be.
Right.
That's
why I
also why
said-
these kind of discussions are healthy, because we throw out ideas and someone might sit and think, that's something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I mean, it's like the. Oh shit! Sorry, my husband needs a. What do you need the card for?
I need to get a pair of long needle nose pliers and an
Yeah,
inspection mirror and a big, powerful fucking magnet to see if we can get that last spark plug out of it.
Oh, issues.
Yeah, that's why.
I don't even know if
I
it's in
think
the
if I do make it, I want to make a trip or see who wants to go with me to the Capitol building because we're so close to it.
Yeah.
And just, you never know. You might just get an aide in that office, but you never know who they might pass that on.
Ozzy went out the
Yeah,
door.
also this creating networks. I mean, like we cooperate across the Atlantic right now with people.
My
That's
dogs
the
are
one
locked in the
happy
bedroom.
We just had a dog escape out the door, so
Yeah.
now we've got everybody chasing him.
Yeah.
But anyways, I mean, I find these kind of talks very productive. I mean, even with we have a subject matter, but we always have those bylines or sidetracks.
Well, you and I learned stuff.
Yeah. Well, DJ and I talk a lot.
It's always fun.
Sorry, I'm watching to make sure I don't have another dog go out the door. But we have dogs that tend to like to be escape artists when people try to go out the door, and one of them was successful today.
We just had one of ours, my son's emotional support dog. He lives in a fourplex, and somebody else left the gate open, and he is now gone.
Oh no!
So yeah, it was like a couple weeks ago, and that was upsetting. So I know how that is. He was an escape artist. He had a baby gate on the front door. But he was the only one that used the yard. Nobody else did. So he couldn't understand, and he couldn't see the gate because he was sitting with the dog. He was sitting with him, and he was gone. So
I hate it.
yeah, I understand. You got to worry about those escape artists. Is what I was getting at.
Yeah, well, if I get out there, for one thing, I can't get down and can't run after him and all that other stuff.
Me neither.
So physically, I'm not going to be a whole lot of help. And I already have 2 people third headed out the door to catch him. So
Good.
yeah. So, I believe it's going to be under control. We'll see. I'm concerned, obviously, but there's not a whole lot I can do in that. So
Yeah. I'm out there with my cane, and that boy.
when he's back, so
Oh, good. I'm glad. That makes me feel better.
yeah.
Well, I'm winding down anyway, so I think.
Yeah,
But I think I've learned some things. We got a lot of good information that I'd like to work on. And
and
give me your email. We'll exchange phone numbers. That's what I've been wanting to do.
Yeah, I'll give you that too. Not a problem. You can text me or call me. And like I said, I mean, I want to go out there and do more. I'm just, between the back issues and doctor's appointments and the vehicle issue, it's
I've been having the same issues. I'm in a rental car right now, and I missed 2 doctor's appointments, not paying attention. But even I'm starting to take a chair with me because it's getting hotter. So, like I was going to tell people, thinking you don't have to stand, you don't have to sit down. If you can just come out and sit.
Well, Austin's great because they have the benches right there.
I was using those for a while.
So anyway, I mean, thanks for having me, and whenever you want, just give me a shout and I'll join in. And big thanks to All Hell No for all the lessons you have given me. I'm still learning, but
I mean, not a problem. I'm still learning as well. Don't think that
Me too.
I know all of it. So
well, you've been teaching me stuff.
Yeah,
That's good.
That's why I like this community. Is there's so many different levels of knowledge. We can learn from each other. And I learned a lot from watching Pearl Snappy equipment wise.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, a cargo wagon. That's awesome. Why didn't I think of that? So just little things. It's
Well, it's like my cooler's on wheels, and so I just attach things,
Yeah.
And oh hell no, I think you should ask him about that little special project you have about
which one? The
the
cooking or
ladies'
the
night, as I
boobs?
call it. The ladies' night, as I call it.
Boobapalooza?
Yeah.
Boobapalooza. Actually, she was one of the ones I was thinking about. What I'm doing, I'm waiting. I don't have a date on this yet, mainly because I'm waiting for us to get through Morning Tony. Because this is supposed to be sort of a comic relief, not serious. Let's have some fun idea. And basically what it is what we call boobapalooza. And it's the trouble boobs get into all on their own.
Sorry.
Like, the as an example, painting a wall, and you're using a roller and you don't want to put the long roller on, and so you're reaching as far up as you can, and then you turn around and you have a happy face on your shirt.
Yep, I know.
Those types of things. And I just sent Nora an email asking her if she wanted to be involved. The thought was
put clips together, or
no, it's basically a panel like this.
Oh.
And we're telling the stories of what happened, what has happened.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I get I'm 55 and I've been overweight for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even before I was overweight, I was well endowed, So, so that was, the fact that, you go to a restaurant and you have something really good for lunch, and then you're going down the road and all of a sudden you're, hours later, and all of a sudden you're hungry and you look down your shirt and you have, oh, here's a snack,
I remember us talking about that stuff on Dusty's show. That was funny.
Yeah, we were doing that.
I'll leave you two ladies to this.
Okay.
Thanks for having me, and
but
anyway, see you soon again.
All right.
Yeah, DJ wants to be a part of that, and so we can get a male reaction, as does Dusty. So,
All right.
Maybe we can get Brian too. I don't know.
Well, we don't want to overdo it, because right now I've got Feral Cheryl, me, Pup Groomer, interested. I've asked Nora. So my thought is if we have 6 women and 2 guys, we're probably good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, just let me know if you want
me to we can have fun.
For sure.
Yeah. Feral Cheryl's so daggone funny. I know she's got scores.
Oh, yeah.
My son, we were in the car listening, and he didn't really watch much of what I was doing, and she was on, and he thought she was a hoot. He almost came with me to Austin when they visited, because I said, well, she's going to be there and Laura's going to be there, and he almost came.
She is so funny, and just out there. You just watching her is like, watching somebody who knows what they're doing, because she's out there and it's always funny.
Yeah.
It's just funny.
Yeah.
And so
we see so many new talents coming out also. Like finally we got George out on the field, Blake.
I couldn't believe when they told me when I started in February, we had around 40, 50 protester channels. And recently somebody said we had like 200.
Total 200, about 203 was last number I heard.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's total channels. That includes people like growing up in Scientology and all.
Oh, I didn't know that included that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's total channels.
I need to make sure, because I was adding on. I need to remember that then.
Yeah. I think that's what I think. Now you'd have to talk with Fluffer UK, but I think that is total number on SB20.space. That's a lot of channels. When I started, there were probably 20 channels, and that was back in Clearwater, Chad, and Maryland was just starting. And,
I remember.
All of that. That was all just starting with the.
And I see the list of channels growing also in the Discord.
Discords. Yeah.
I'll add everyone there, but as time goes, we add people there. Not we.
I've never been on Discord.
I'm putting.
I don't have the time to do it. I just have too many other things.
Well,
Amy
I'm
says
putting up there.
206 now.
Is it
Thank you, Amy.
206? Yeah, thank you, Amy. So yeah, that's quite a few channels,
It
and
is.
it's growing. I mean,
I don't know to any other YouTube like community that is that
well,
cohesive
Welcome,
as far
Diana.
as working towards the same goal.
yeah, I mean, if you think about it, the cooking genre is very big, but there's not a community per se. You know, it's
There
just
are a few
individual
groups
channels.
on Facebook,
Yeah.
but this
The
time YouTube
makeup
has kind of
people.
taken a good spin.
Mm-hmm.
It's
The
more
reaction group, you know, there's a set of groups that are huge on YouTube, and that, you know, and then but I don't see any that are huge
Oh no,
and
Diana.
getting big and growing. And I think, to be quite honest, the SPTV family, the universe, SPTV verse, is in the moderate size at this point, somewhere in there I mean, because I don't know if they're counting Rabbit. I don't know if they're counting some of the ones that follow
I think they
other.
are.
I think
under
they are
the
too.
activism
Right.
title.
And then again, because we have so many options, I mean,
Mhm.
I know
Right.
for sure I'm not everyone's flavor. Some people
Right.
may think I'm too talkative, write too much, stuff like that. Other
Mhm.
people, it's not about who's in the limelight. It's more about we each offer our own voice to this.
Well,
Right.
here's what I love so much, and DJ is a prime example of this, is that there's a lot of people out there who say, oh, well, you know, it'd be fun to do a channel, but I just don't
Right,
know. You know, I don't like the way I look on camera. I don't like this. I don't like that. You know, and I looked at DJ. DJ was a prime example. And I looked at DJ and said, look at me. I'm not, you know, Cheryl Teagues, but I'm on, you know.
5 people show up. I'm amazed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I go, at first I was like, I didn't want to be on camera. I was just gonna film Pearl Snappy. I wasn't even worried about going live. I thought I was just show up and hold a sign. And
Mhm.
now I'm doing.
Look
I
at you.
never thought
Yeah.
I would have
Well,
a YouTube channel.
it's like with me. I found out that I really enjoyed being on panels like this. That this is what I like to do. You
Me
know,
Yeah,
too.
I
I mean,
like
I
it too.
want to
over
pull
anything
my
else.
part of the ropes, so
Yeah.
to speak.
And the birth of Oh Hell No was because I ran 2 cooking channels, and on 2 cooking channels, there's not a whole lot I can get onto a panel and talk about.
Right.
You know, I can't go into the stuff going on in Scientology. I can't go into the stuff going on in protest because it doesn't belong on a cooking channel. So
It's completely off topic for that area.
yeah, so for that genre, it's not a thing that you're gonna do. And so I made Oh Hell No. So I had a platform that I could use in this way, you know. And I really think when it was really funny when DJ was talking about the Booba Palooza and telling you about it. That's not the only project I have in the works. You know, so that's why I had to clarify which one are you talking about.
Awesome. I think that's great.
You know, I have one
The
for
more the
Simply
better.
Good in the works that I think is going to be a whole lot of fun. And right now,
That's going to be a hoot.
That-
But
yeah.
we will create more. I think one thing I think we should also mention why we do the stuff we do.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you remember this parody song contest.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, that was a lot of fun.
That came out from me and Oh Hell No talking about the importance of using humor and music also as ways to undermine authorities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Because part of your book you mentioning, in many ways, I see a parallel to Jose Anderson and the Emperor's New Clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As long as no one says he's naked, people will just believe whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And who's willing to be that child that gets ridiculed?
Yeah.
But if there's enough children saying he's naked, then
Right.
people
Yeah.
have to start to listen.
Well, you know, one of the things that I'd like to do with all of those parody songs that we did, not just the ones that won, which all 3 of them were really good, but there were some also, I think part of what Laura made her decisions on getting down to the final 3 was what she felt like she could sing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there are
And
lots of more songs that people we have
the
rewritten
whole
lots
set.
of songs.
Yes, there's a whole set, and
Tina
we're still
offered a
doing it.
really good one too.
And see, I
Yeah.
was trying to work on Army. I couldn't sing. I
Mhm.
couldn't think of a song, but I was working on Army Kings. I actually sent one to Nora and one to Laura to
Mhm.
help me with, but I forgot to tell them. I emailed them and probably got lost in their emails. So I got to
Right.
go back and try that again.
Right.
So I was trying
Well,
to
give
think of
us a
something
shout. We
fun
can
like
help you look
that.
at it.
Well, there's a guy out in Austin who plays a whole bunch of parody music, as I recall. He sits out there
Yeah.
with a boombox or something, and he plays the different things.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
heard
remember
him
who
the
that
other
is?
day.
For
Kim?
Scientology,
Yeah,
parodytology,
I guess
he's
that may
very
be
good.
who it is.
parodytology. Yeah, he
Yeah.
comes from Houston, and
Yeah,
he rewrote all these songs. Yeah, that was him.
yeah,
So he should have a look at those we have listed, and
yeah.
we're gonna make more as time goes. It's like
Because
the other day when I was streaming a little bit on the Discord, where people, which is a safe Discord, this our channel. I say ours, even though it's yours.
there's the gamers, yeah.
But I think it's more like a gaming. So anyway, I was playing the song "Spirit in the Sky," and all of a sudden, when they sang "God, I had a friend in Jesus," I was thinking about God, I have a friend in Zenu.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I did the same thing. I happened to hear "Tracks of My Tears" by Linda Ronstadt on the radio on the way home.
yeah, I remember. you said
And so I went ahead and I read it on Dusty's. I actually read it instead of singing it. I'm not going to sing it because I sure as hell can't sing like Linda Ronstadt.
Oh, you can sing more than you think.
Oh God, I'm flat and sharp in places, and I hear it. But I used to be able to sing a whole lot better. But
Yeah, me too. When
you
I was
know, 30 years of smoking cigarettes has taken care of that. But that particular song is the premise behind that song when I rewrote it was as a 13 or 14-year-old kid who just signed their Sea Org billion-year contract, and then their father gets declared an SP, so now they can't talk to their father. And so the whole premise of that song was a letter to the SP father, you know.
That's interesting. That
Yeah.
sounds really
So-
good.
Didn't we rewrite the "Living on a Jet Plane" also, something like that? "Leaving for the Sea Org" or something.
I hadn't seen, and I haven't seen that one, but I have
Well,
a whole
we're
folder
talking
that
about
has
it.
those in there. We
Parody,
talked about it.
Parody did a lot, and he doesn't have the music with it, so he doesn't get copyrighted. He just sings the song
Yeah.
with no music and changes the words. I thought that
Well,
was
interestingly enough, if he needs to do The Wall, I actually have a karaoke version that I've cut down, and but I have paid for the license for that.
I will let him know that. I believe
Okay.
he emailed me.
And if he's not on the Discord, I mean, just get hold of All Hell No and
Right.
make sure, because
Um,
and if you're not on it, you're welcome to.
yeah,
I
we
mean,
need to get
Yeah,
you.
give me
on
the. I've never even attempted
the URL.
I need to.
Well,
I'll put it
in short terms, Discord is like many channels, or like chat rooms you can.
Yeah,
look
that's
at.
what it reminded. What I
Yeah.
heard was it reminded me of the old chat room.
Yeah, but then in each room you can have different threads.
I know I've been on Telegram before like that, and where they made a room and you had to be invited to. It was for a different YouTube channel. I did do Telegram before.
So there's both text and voice and video.
Okay, I put it in the private chat area of your.
Okay.
And you're welcome to share it with your viewers. I'm assuming you're the one who's leading this parade. You're welcome to, because it's telling me I have to connect to YouTube to put it in the chat, and I'm like going, I don't know.
Okay.
And I'm not streaming, basically because of the situation that Aaron talks about. So, and that's one of the things that I think we all need to, as the smaller channels, we need to kind of get together and work out, because I have a thing that I'm working on. It's called Shoot the Poo with Oh Hell No, and something like this where you have a panel and we just kind of shoot the shit. That's the whole idea behind it. And but the thing is that I want that one to be one that I stream. And then like if you have something like that you want to do, then I make myself available to be on yours, and I don't stream. And same thing with DJ, same thing with Dusty, same thing with all these little channels.
Right.
But we have to get together and work it out. That's
I'm
going to be
thinking about something along the lines of, in London there's Hyde Park and Speaker's Corner. So I'll think about something in the lines of on the soapbox where people stand and talk.
Yeah. But I mean, I think
maybe if each person, like if you were on for a couple hours and each person took a 30-minute block and they put that on their channel, and just so that way you're not repeating.
Yeah, well, you're talking about original content.
There are many options for that.
Yeah,
but
original content.
Most important is we keep the originality.
Yeah, I think what needs to happen is we need to have a Facebook or a Zoom or some sort of place, a Discord, because I have another Discord that's available. I can open that sucker up in a heartbeat. It's an old gaming Discord, but that I don't use. I mean, I flat don't use it. But anyway, I can open up another Discord where we invite people who are willing. I mean, that's the thing that they have to be to join so that we can all discuss, okay, how are we going to work out so that we all have original content and we're not simul streaming on numerous channels. One person hosts and then we do that, and then maybe later in the evening or the next day or whatever, the next person hosts. And
I like that, because I don't really, it doesn't really bother me who streams it or whatever.
I mean, I only have 56 subscribers this far, and I mean, I'm very happy for that number because it allows me at least to go live, and that's
right. That's all I wanted to begin with.
Yeah, I think I have 126 or something like that. Let me look. 127 right now.
Nice.
That are subscribed to my channel, and then of course we can put the fact that we're going to be on somebody's stream in the community tab, or we can you can set
bring
up
them over,
or you can set up like you're going to in StreamYard. You're going to do a live stream, you do the thumbnail, you do the whole thing, and you put the time in, and then because you're not attaching to anybody else, you can set up the other person's like you're going to go on, and then you just delete it after it's over within your YouTube. So
absolutely. That would work,
so that it pops up within the Discords and the notifications that, hey, so-and-so, that you're going live here. This is where it is. And they may end up going over there, but in the description, you put the URL for the person who's actually hosting.
Right. Yeah.
And also, I think we need to mention something that some people may criticize us for being a little bit off topic when it comes to Scientology, because we like to talk about other things too, but that's also because we don't want to be, or at least me, I don't want to be too tunnel vision, and I want to see the whole picture. I mean,
it would get a little bit
similarities
boring,
and stuff.
That's all.
Well, I think I think everybody has a different perspective, and it all kind of ties into Scientology, even the things. I mean, you do the gaming, but you'll talk about Scientology while you're gaming, and kind of that type of stuff. So
there are people that like that. There's so many people watching these channels that
it's not that easy to talk about Scientology when I do DJ sets, but then again, you can't do it everywhere. But then again, music.
I mean, it's like me trying to do it on cooking.
You might find some gamers that never heard about Scientology. Like,
exactly.
Gamers talking about it.
There's a whole set of people who game. I mean, this is something that's come up on my Discord. This is why the chat room for SPTV gamers went into my Discord, is because I had a set of people come to me and say, can we do something like this? Well, what's actually going to end up happening, yes, I'm going to have the SPTV gamers chat room, which is the voice chat in Discord. But at the same time, I think, is it Jane or is it Indigo who's doing the other server? DJ, do you remember?
I'm not sure. We spoke with Indigo the other night, didn't we?
That was last night, but I think it's Jane who's talking about doing that. I'm not sure. There's another, and I'm going to be working with her.
Both of them are very contributing a lot and helping a lot, and so I mean, it's still a work in progress, and
so they're working on places on the SPTV space to put this stuff, because I actually bought a website right when SPTV started because I knew how the church liked to steal websites.
Right.
Yeah.
And I tried to start a website where everything could be in one place and you could announce upcoming events like that.
Right.
And with link the gaming or this or that or the
Right.
Discord and all be in one place.
Mm-hmm.
But it just I never got any help on it. Never got off the ground.
And then SPTV space kind of
right.
did,
And
did the same thing.
Saying they're expanding it, and that's
yeah.
why.
Well,
And
you know,
that's
you're talking
because
about an event.
Copper and C News made it together. They made a very good job of it. I mean,
Oh yeah.
You know,
and
I never had the knowledge to start it myself.
Yeah, I don't
just
either.
couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it, even that I can do home pages and stuff, but that's above my level.
Yeah, you'd have to have a web developer in on that. And there's nothing saying that because I know that the stuff that Pup Grimmer does, they have linked it on the sptv.space site. There's nothing saying that you could not do an events calendar that is linked through the
That's
SPTV.
what I'd like to see, so people know what's happening, because you're not on every channel. You might not hear the announcements.
Right. Or it doesn't come up on your YouTube ding, or for whatever reason it's late on Discord or whatever.
There's so many channels, and that was back when there was like almost no channels. I was thinking of this, and now it's been.
But it's like,
you know, everywhere.
I'd be willing to bet that if you ask Fluffer Scroll or Z News, that they would be willing to help you build the actual page with the event calendar and tell you how.
Well, I think they told me in my chat that they're working on something like that.
Are they? Okay.
They're working on expanding the sptv.space to do more.
I know they have a Facebook thing with them now, and I do believe they have a separate channel, a separate web page for sptv.space that's going to be doing some other stuff. That's what I'm hearing.
Maybe that's what it is, but they said they are expanding. I thought that was great.
So
and then I mentioned,
that is almost a full-time job. So I mean,
I know that's why I knew I couldn't do it. I knew I wanted help, and I asked Claire 3 times last year and never got a response. She said, "Oh, that'd be great," and
nothing. Yeah,
so it kind of just went away.
Yeah, I think that is a good thing, and that would be things to put up, like meet and greets that happen. Protests aren't going to be easy to put there, and they probably shouldn't be put there because of the fact
kind of to me that
seems
a little separate. That's
right.
The only thing.
But things like the luau,
expand.
Yeah, the things like the luau for Tony and meet and greets, and
I heard there's a cruise too.
Yeah, the
more
cruise
communal stuff in another one.
The cruise and who to contact for that, which is, by the way, if you guys still want to get on the cruise, I do believe she still has rooms. It's Chow Yun Smut you need to get a hold of.
Yeah, but today's the last place to pay. Today is the last day to pay, she said.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're hitting the
a
end
year
of that time.
ago.
It's in September.
This is what made me decide to do it a year ago. Is when all those people were just starting and streaming together. They were talking about a cruise.
Right.
And somebody mentioned SPTV cruise. I go, well, we need someplace for upcoming events. But like I said, it never went anywhere.
We had Pearl Fest. We'll have Pearl Fest next year.
Right.
There is a lot of things like that. I know Reese goes and does meet and greets, different place. Her and Tommy both. So, there's a lot of things. Yeah,
and I'm going to Southern California. It's where my daughter and my grandkids are. And I found so many people that live right around there, and we're talking about doing something like that, doing like a brunch or something.
That's only good for the community, because the more we get to know each other, the better we can work together, I think.
Yeah, and what you find out is the gens, they get interested in that, and they show up for those things, and those are, as much as we'd like to meet everybody who's out there, the excitement factor increases when you have a gen showing up,
Because after all, they are the reason we're doing this, because we want to help and make sure that the never-ins and there won't be any new.
Yeah, because Aaron said he thought a meet and greet was he's going to be somewhere and they're going to go do something later. When he announced it a couple days ahead of time, people drove in. And the reason I know this, I started out being a follower of Popcorn Planet and Nerd Report. And I've been to 3 meetups in a year and a half. even with my back and everything, they had a Vegas meetup that was planned well in advance, because one of their people lives in England and one of their people lives in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a meetup and people flew in from other countries.
Yeah, Kelly came in for the.
And I
Yeah.
happened to be in LA for another meetup.
Mhm.
So I've met Lewis twice, and I've met Andy from Popcorn 3 times, because he happened to be in Houston one time.
Mhm.
And they, some of them don't realize how excited that just,
in
I don't
general.
want to say fans, supporters are to meet in person. It's just fun. It's a community.
Well, I
Well,
mean,
look at it a little bit like you're always excited to meet colleagues who do a good job. That's a little bit like I
There you
say
go.
it.
I mean, would I have gone out that particular day to the Austin protest, the protest day, without Liz being there? Probably not. Without Laura being there. I mean, that just made it so much more.
I borrowed
have
a
to
car
be
so
there.
I could be there later.
Yeah,
Because I couldn't have been able to stay that long. So
right,
I got my son's car that day so I could stay,
right.
because I knew
The
it was
fact that
happening.
the fact that I met Alyssa and I met Laurie Plays was there, that I met Farrell Sherrill, that I met Liz and Laura
Selfless.
and Selfless, and all those people that let's face it, they have a much bigger following than I do.
Yeah.
I just like
and
not being alone. Like
I have that same issue, and that's part of the reason I'm a little leery about going out there. Is I don't want to be out there
it's
by
way more
myself.
fun when you've got a
Yeah.
a group.
And I think you
several
need to
people.
remember one thing. I think, is it Susie or who is it? There's someone, I think it's Sue Oberholz who said something about one more voice to add.
Turns up the volume. Yeah.
Yeah, it turns
Yeah.
up the volume. So, I
Yeah.
mean, first of all, it's not like we put those big ones on a pedestal. It's more
Mhm.
like they are more ahead of us, but there's nothing stopping us from growing and getting better and better at this.
Agreed.
Because
Agreed.
this is no competition.
And
And
that's
everyone offers their share and
Yeah.
do things their way.
yeah. I mean, I don't care if I get one of those silver plaques behind me. I don't care. I honestly don't care if I get monetized. It'd be nice, but I don't care.
I have too much clutter already, so I don't need anything more
Like
to
I said,
clutter
even if
down.
nobody
Seniors.
comes and watches, I'm going anyway
Mhm.
Yeah.
for the
But
original.
I
But-
think
going.
you need to have an honest reason why you're doing this. I think
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
that's
so
the
too.
main reason.
Or you would fall away. I think anybody that's not in it as a passion
Mhm.
are not going to stick around. They would have
Agreed.
fallen away.
And
Agreed.
if you're not
I
genuine,
mean,
if you're not honest about what you do and what you say, people will see through that.
Right.
well, let's
mean-
be honest. There's people who are quote unquote who have been in the community or have done things, that type of stuff. They're here to see the car wreck and find out if somebody died.
True.
It's just
Yeah.
like it's
True.
literally just like you're driving down the highway, you hit a whole bunch of traffic, you get up there, and everybody's slowing down when they don't have to,
Yeah.
and what we
Rubbernecking.
call rubbernecking. Yes, exactly.
Also,
We know that's true.
I mean,
Yeah.
we have somebody that we
It is
all
what
know.
it is, pretty much.
Yeah, we all
Yeah.
know that is a rubbernecker, and that's all he is. And he's here to create issues and then watch the carnage that happens afterwards.
and
We don't
also
need to
if
say
you
his
think
name.
about
He who
it,
shall not be named.
Yeah. and I think also about many times when you come to an accident scene, what do
Mhm.
people do? They don't call for help, but they catch the camera and start to record.
Nowadays,
They
yeah.
don't ask if they
Nowadays,
can
yes.
help or look for other people's safety. They just are self-absorbed.
That's where we
Sensationalism.
talk about the different these people are going to have people in their chat that maybe won't ever be on my chat.
Yeah.
Because they
that's
wanna watch
fine.
car
There's so many different things going on.
Yeah.
And that's fine. If that works, if that gets the message out.
Yeah.
You know,
Agreed. But that's sort of why I think that we as the smaller channels need to kind of get together and work something out, because every time one of us goes on and we bring in the audience that may not be on your channel but is on my channel, Okay. Well,
Mhm.
then they discover you and they discover everybody
That's
that's
how
on the
I found
channel.
channels to watch.
Right.
In the
Yeah.
past.
And so then they move on to that, and it allows all of these little channels to grow,
Hmm.
you know, and eventually one of us will interest one of the bigger channels and be invited onto there, and then we can boost the rest of them because
That's how
we
I
got to
got my
boost.
first 100.
Mhm,
Aaron mentioned my channel when I first went on because I needed my 50.
mhm.
And then I was worried that I didn't have quite and then Pearl put me on hers. I got 100. I'm like, I'm good. I got 100. I can
Mhm.
go live because I didn't know if you
Right.
dropped below 50 if you
50.
couldn't.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yes, I'm
I ended
just
up with
happy to be
100 and I was
able to
good.
do this.
Yeah. Well, when I was there in Austin, I did not have 50 subs yet at that point. So I literally, that's why that particular one is an episode instead of a live, because I
You see,
had to,
my first few videos, I'm just filming Pearl because I couldn't go live yet.
yeah.
Yeah.
But mine actually, what I did was I filmed what happened, and then I went in, you know, after 4 or 5 hours of video, I went in and cut it down to 3.
Right.
You know, so because there's a lot of times where I'm moving around or I'm looking at the building and nothing's happening. You know,
I'm trying to go back and re-edit all of my lives, and just
I'm
finding
still
those
learning to sit
conversations with
still in front of
people.
the camera.
Yeah, I'm gonna find because 80% of what I'm doing is pretty boring.
Mhm.
So those
Mhm.
conversations, when somebody does stop, I'm trying to go in and find them
Mhm.
again and
Mhm.
cut those out and put those on the channel so people don't when I see 2 hours, I'm like or 3 or 4, I'm like, I don't have
Well,
that kind of
we are
time.
up to
Yeah,
2.5 hours
I'll
now,
watch
so
it
that-
for
we
a
have
little
lots to
while.
edit now.
Everybody
Yeah.
does that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the same thing. That's part of the reason why I don't tend to watch a lot of the live streams on the protesters, is because, you know, nothing's happening and we're looking at a car across the street for 35 minutes, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so breaking it down, taking those, and sure, put them up, you know, during that, but going back and taking them and breaking them down and putting them into highlights, I guess would be what it would
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
To me, that's valuable because then I can go in and it's a highlight of this stream, and I can go in and watch the highlight and get what
Yeah,
happened.
that's what I get. Because the LA streamers, they go on 3, 4, 5 hours.
Right.
And I love Natalie's show.
I do too.
That is so relevant. But she does, the main
The clips.
stuff. We need something kind of middle especially for LA, because they're a big group. Not so much for the rest of us. If somebody would just follows the LA streamers, that might be able to highlight some stuff that's going on there. Maybe sort of a recap show of just LA would be helpful too. And I thought about
I think
seeing if
that
I
will
could find
come
people.
during time. I think that will come because
Yeah.
I think it's unfair that Natalie has all that pressure on her shoulders
She's a
to
lot.
recap
And
everything. So she could use some kind of
Well, I think people
relief in that sense.
send
That,
her clips.
I
I
mean,
think that's
she's
what's happening.
good at it.
Yeah, I think that's what's happening is people are sending her
Yeah.
clips.
They do.
Yeah.
And so
It
basically
happened
she's
to me,
doing,
and I never sent it in, so it never got talked about.
right.
So yeah, you've got to send a clip so that because she doesn't
Well, it's
have
like,
time to be watching it all.
exactly.
And
It's
then
like,
again, you have to measure. You have to have some confidence if you're a small channel to send into those big guns. I mean,
Right.
it's like,
yeah,
why
yeah.
would they mention
Well,
and
I was
even think
mentioned this
about
morning.
this?
I was like, "Oh, I've made it. I'm on Natalie's
Well, yeah.
show." That's
Yeah, I
the
was
thing.
mentioned.
I think Jay sent the clip.
I was
Yeah.
mentioned right after ProFest because I sent in the clip of the You're Fat,
Right.
you know. And you know, she talked about it for a bit there in, you know, the You're Fat statement. And you know, so yeah, I mean, us little channels have just as much shot as now. She does concentrate most on the protest stuff, but she does some stuff that, you know, so if you do something or something happens to you at a protest or whatever, or somebody says something to you, or you have a really good conversation with somebody, that type of stuff, if you clip it down into about a minute to a minute and a half, and just send it to her and tell her what happened, and I gave her the link to my channel. I gave her the link to the actual video it came from, and sent her the clip, and then told her what happened. And in that, that's basically what she put up. So she
I
had all
should
that
have done it.
information.
It's been weeks now, but I should have done it because the way the guy came at me, other protests needs to know how to deal with it. Because what I had you've never seen my setup when I'm by myself. I had the bench, I have my wagon, I have the tree, I have my tripod. So there's only one way to get at me. And what he did is he pulled my sign out and threw it on the ground, and I immediately jumped out to get my sign back. I should have never done that.
Yeah,
because it made me vulnerable, but I wasn't thinking.
Wasn't thinking at the time.
It's
Yeah,
like
and-
what Aja happened the other day when that mad
Guy, that mad
dentist,
guy
I don't
came
know
in.
if he had been having too much laughing gas or what.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you got to be aware of your surroundings. Your head's got to be on a swivel. And
I thought I do pretty good, but you know, when it actually happened, I was like, I wasn't thinking.
yeah,
I should have never stepped out.
Someone good to bring in on that is Poe, because he keeps talking about keeping the head on a swivel.
yeah,
I'm sure if you would invite him to talk about
He does
protest
talk about a lot of that.
he does.
My husband's in security, so I've always been aware. You know, he's always teaching us.
Well, my husband's a former Navy SEAL, and he used to do Black Ops. So it was him and a spotter. And so he's talked quite a bit about having, and to this day, like when we go into a restaurant, he will literally find a booth or a table
back to the wall
or back to the corner.
So does he?
Okay.
And close to an extra entrance.
Yeah, and he knows where the exits are. He knows, those types of things. He's very aware, and I just come in and sit down at what looks like the most comfortable chair, and I don't think about it. Whereas he has a different perspective. So what we need to do or what people need to do as protesters is have that same perspective, but where's your escape route, and don't leave any part of you vulnerable.
See, I was doing that. He couldn't get at me, so he pulled the sign out and threw it on the ground. And I immediately jumped out to go get it. The only thing I think that worked for me is he expected me to maybe be afraid, but I wasn't. I had a rabid dog go after me once, and you go back, you look angry, not scared. And that's what I did. And I went back to but then there was a guy named Colin. He's kind of in the neighborhood. He came over and got between us. I didn't even know he was there. And I think that guy would have got physical with me if he hadn't come and got in between. The guy ended up getting arrested. I didn't get to film it. It took 3 cops to cuff him.
And also there's a difference between being aware of your situation and being afraid, because no one should feel afraid or scared to do what we do.
Right.
But to be aware and minimize risk is always healthy.
Right.
Well, you have risk driving down the road with your car. I mean,
they call it, what is it called, Tom? Acceptable risk?
Yeah.
Like when you get in your car, there's a risk of an accident.
Yeah.
But you do everything you can to prepare or mitigate that risk. And
that's part of the awareness I was thinking.
Exactly. So in the situation, yes, you're going to be putting yourself at a risk if you're standing out there doing those kinds of things. Somebody might get pissed off and come at you. That's a risk. But what do you do to mitigate that risk? So you plan your escape route, and you plan to not leave anything vulnerable. So those are the 2 things. And the third thing is to have someone who has your back. So you have someone who maybe not you filming, but filming you filming.
And also not to be overconfident. I mean, you have to have a certain self-preservation in all this.
Yes. But I think that when we're dealing with mitigating risk, the more people, the better off we are. And that's where LA has some of these smaller areas, these smaller protest areas beat, is that they have a lot of people there. So there's not just one eye, there is 20, and it's harder in these smaller areas that don't have as many people who protest. It's not as big a deal. Scientology is sort of, I'll be honest, prior to getting involved in this, I didn't even realize Scientology was a thing here in Austin. You know? So it's not, they don't have a big blue building and all this stuff going on and billboards, and they don't.
I didn't know anything about Scientology.
I didn't
No,
either.
they are very
a
sneaky.
little over a
That's
year
the
ago.
problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched Leah's thing and Going Clear on Netflix, and that's where it all started.
Yeah,
for
see,
me.
I've never watched any of those. I've only watched
Yeah.
YouTube to learn, but I need to
Yeah.
go watch some of that stuff.
I think
Yeah,
I got to know in the 80s, or yes, it was something in the early 80s when my mother dated one guy who has escaped the Sea Org from
Yeah.
Copenhagen. That's when I was told about it. So
Well, I mean, I knew
In
about
the 90s, we
Scientology.
almost checked it out. We were looking for a new church after we got married in California, and we heard about it. And he said, "Oh, it sounds like it might be interesting." Thank God we never did.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, see, it's like me. I knew about Scientology existed.
They got out
from about the I want to say 70s, early 80s, when the volcano commercials came out. Hence my background.
I think that's what interested us.
Yeah.
The volcano
that was
commercial.
back late 70s, early 80s, and I was watching the Midnight Special, and their infomercial came on, and I was in a abusive, narcissistic, abusive family, and I was looking for any way out, and I saw that and thought, works with communication. Oh, makes things better.
Tom Cruise is in it.
Tom Cruise back then wasn't a big thing.
When we saw it, he kind of was getting into it.
He was just, actually I was graduated and out of school by the time Tom Cruise did his first movie. But all of that was going on, and they were talking about all the great things they could do for you, and I thought, well, that sounds good, and it gets me out of this goddamn hellhole. Yeah.
The way we started this whole stream was, that's what this is trying to tell people. We can help you.
Yeah.
And that's what got so many people in there.
And I'll tell you, the only reason
from the frying pan into the fire, really, without realizing it.
Exactly. And that's what would have happened to me. And the only reason I did not call the phone number that they put on the bottom of the screen was because I didn't have any money at the time. I was a kid. And not realizing that had I made that call, we can, get you all signed up for all this stuff, and you can work for us, and and I was 16, 16.
They might have got you.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's easy.
Yeah.
And that's also not to knock on religions as such, but that's why all these mind-altering organizations, be it a religion, a cult, or even some of the governmental organizations, like in the 30s, the German Jugend.
Yeah,
the younger they get them, the more they can mold them into what they want.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Once you reach about somewhere between 21 and 28, I think your critical thinking is kind of locked in. Yeah. So that's why they all go for get them while they're young.
Yeah, and that's the honest to God truth. The younger you get them, the more you can keep them in that, because you have altered their brains enough to where they fully believe, and they don't question. As a young person, you're less likely to question things than you are as an adult.
That's true.
So.
And then we get back to what we started almost about this.
All right.
About critical thinking, and ask from who, why, to whom, and always look for a catch.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when you get an ad in the mail, or it comes up on your YouTube feed or your Facebook feed about, this great deal, and it's only 59 cents. Well, what they don't tell you is got to sign up for 6 months of getting these things at $85 a pop.
Oh, that happened to me once. How Grant Cardone's brother, he keeps his whole business was to keep people from getting refunds on their credit card. They said, get this sample of something. The next thing I know, I never got it, and they're charging me almost $200 for something. I went through my bank and this what's the word I want? My bank took care of it. I disputed it. I disputed it.
Yeah. I've done that a few times. I'll be real honest. On YouTube, I signed up for the ads program, and you know, I figured $100 a month. I've got 2 channels, $50 a channel. I can promote, you know, a couple of videos a month, you know, one video a month. And what I didn't see was the fine print about how you signed up and it was going to be $265 a month, you know, that you had to pay. And I went, whoa, when I mean, it came up the first month and it said recurring. And I'm like going, well, that doesn't sound right. I don't remember that. Well, let me give it next month and see what happens. And sure enough, next month, $265. And at which point I contacted, and then there's no way to get out of it. That was the other thing. I was trying to find, how do you get out of this? And so finally I just went to the bank and I said, you know, these 2 are legit. I'm not going to argue these 2 charges, but do not allow any more to come out. And it hasn't, you know.
One
I look at
advice about that is to make a virtual credit card on your bank account, especially for those purchases if you don't trust them 100%.
Yeah.
That way you can only assign a certain amount on that card.
Yeah, I have a prepaid card that I do that with. I just send money over to it if I'm going to do something like that. Although on Amazon, that's not what's on there. But I've got a couple of things that if I decide, no, I don't want to do that anymore, I just don't put the money in. And then they hound me for about 6 weeks and I don't answer them and it goes away.
It's a waiting game. Who's most longevity? Anyway, ladies, I have to go and do some stuff. But thanks for
Isn't when does the Boobathon start?
We don't.
In 1
that's
hour
8.
and 20 minutes.
Okay. Oh, we're good.
An hour and a half, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take care.
So yeah.
Bye.
Take care, DJ. Good to see you.
Fine. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, whoops.
DJ and I have talked
That was
about
an
doing some
accident.
stuff together. Oh, that's all right. You just savaged me. That's okay.
Like I said, I'm getting used. This first time I had 2 people on. That was cool.
Yeah. The more people you have on, it gets a little bit more crazy, but in general, it's a lot of fun. And panels are a lot of fun because you bounce off of each other, and you know,
it is a lot better than just reading,
sitting
from
here
the
and
chat
talking.
all the time.
Yeah. So I like to, I mean, even if it's just one person that I'm talking to, I like to have a secondary person on. I do some things that are one-on-one, but I find myself, especially as small as I am, you know, I'll have 2, maybe 3 people in my chat. And so it gets to a point where, okay, now what do we talk about? So now I've got to come up with another subject to lead off of this one so that we can have another, you know, it's hard. Whereas if you have a secondary person,
wherever we go, fine with me.
Yeah. You know, that's sort of the shoot the shit idea, is that, you know, okay, I'm here, you know, let's talk about what's on your mind, you know. And so that's kind of what I'm looking at, and that's literally my thing. I want to do it probably once a week. I haven't figured out what day yet, but I want to do it once a week, just as my original content, so that I can do these other panels.
Right.
You know, and be involved in those. Like, you know, Dusty does his about once a week or once every 2 weeks, his Dusty's Corner. And I really enjoy being on that one. Clearwater Chad used to do one a while back that was right before the Mike, Mark, and Claire things. Yeah, that I was on quite a bit, and I enjoyed that. And that's what got me hooked on it.
I didn't know you were near Austin until very recently. I had no idea.
Yeah, we were talking about it in a whose chat was it? Liz, maybe. How close I was.
Cool, more people.
Yeah. I'm literally in North Austin, so so I should be getting out there more than I do. It's just,
you know what? And if I don't call you, you can call me and say, hey, do you want to go out this day?
Yeah,
I need 90 minutes.
Yeah,
that's all I need.
My biggest thing is I was trying to find out when Pearl and Selfless would be out there, you know, and
I never
could.
More late afternoon. I think.
And I never really got an answer. You know, are you like I said, are you going to be out there next Friday for graduation? And I never really got an answer. And I was like, I'm not going to go out there by myself, and I certainly don't want to drive, 30 minutes to get all the way down there and drive by and nobody be there and have wasted that gas and that time, so that's kind of what why I haven't done a whole lot. That's
Yeah.
a big part of it.
Well, we can
is that-
definitely get together.
yeah, we
'Cause
need to.
You're definitely not hardly out of the way at all.
Yeah. I mean, not too far off 35. I mean, to get to me, you kind of take, I can give you a back road, basically Wells Branch, but,
I've stopped there a few times. to
yeah.
get something to eat.
Yeah. So, right down Wells Branch, I'm right down there, but,
Oh.
yeah, right down.
Cool. That'll
So,
be easy.
yeah. So it'll be simple. And, yeah, we can exchange phone numbers and,
Okay.
go from there.
Definitely do
And yeah, you know, when I can, like I said, I've got doctor's appointments coming out my ears.
Yeah.
Next month's going to be interesting. I've got my PCP, I've got my pain management doctor, I've got my weekly chiropractor, I've got my weekly physical therapy, and I try to schedule them.
Wow, you got way more than I ever have. I
Yeah.
do. I'm
I have a
supposed to
whole
get
team.
trigger points every month, and I have my follow up every month.
Mm-hmm.
And I missed my trigger points, but I can tell.
Yeah.
My neck.
Oh, and I forgot my endocrinologist is in there somewhere.
my.
So, yeah.
All right.
So yeah, that's why I say it depends on doctors and all that. Now we have.
I'll just let you know when I'm going. If you
Yeah.
can come, great. If not, you know. Maybe
Yeah,
next
yesterday I had an eval on one of my dogs that I had to do that morning, and then that afternoon I had to go to my tax prep guy because my income tax check hadn't come in, and we put it in February. So yeah,
That's
so
not
they
good.
were piddling around trying not to pay our $3,000 income tax return, and so I called the prep person and told them what was going on, and they said, well, okay, we'll meet on Saturday. And in the interim of that, they must have called it.
A bottle of water.
They must have called the IRS because 2 days after I had talked to them, my income tax refund was in the bank. So, and then there was a letter in my mailbox wanting 60 more days to review, you know.
This is the first year we've owed for 20 years because he stayed at the same location because with security, what it is you have contracts with the company.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they didn't like the company, so they switched companies, but he liked that contract so much he stayed. So in 3 years, he's had 3 different companies at that location, and they messed up his, what do you call it?
W4, W2?
Yeah, the W2. And we were flabbergasted how much we owed. We're like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
They messed up the paperwork somehow. So we
Yeah.
got to fix that.
Yeah, and usually, you know, I mean, you can go to a tax attorney, but usually if you contact them and say, hey, what is this? How did this happen? And can we make payments?
We are.
They're pretty good about it.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, because we had one year where we had the accident. We didn't file that year because it's like it was the end of the year that we had the accident, so we were still in the middle of all that crap. And the next year, I'm trying to think of how it all went, but the next year they said we owed them $35,000, and we're like, oh, what?
Figure that out.
And basically, what had happened was because we hadn't done the year before, they were just literally going off of what he made that year, gross income, and not considering with the loss that year that we had.
Right.
By the time it was all said and done, after attorneys and tax prep and all this stuff, they owed us about that. So, yeah. So that's, you know, but it took us a couple of years to have to get through that whole process of trying to figure it out. Because, of course, when we came back to IRS and say, well, no, actually, you owe us X amount of dollars, they said, oh, well, wait a minute, we need to look at this. And say, exactly. So back and forth. And finally, the tax attorney said, you know, look, this is what it is. And, you know, you need to deal with it.
Anybody listening, always call the IRS. You can figure things out.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
You just have to make that. You have to communicate.
Yeah.
My son and my daughter, I have taught them that their whole life, and they won't communicate, and it just gets worse.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're paying a mortgage, it goes for anything, to be quite honest, paying your car payment, you know, if you know that there's going to be an issue You know,
talk to them
if
first.
you call them and talk to them
work
and
it
say,
out,
hey,
that's
this is what's going on, then they will work with you to get it dealt with.
right.
Whereas if you just sit there and get quiet, then you start getting the nasty emails and the nasty phone calls and all that other stuff, and they begin to think you're a delinquent instead of somebody who's being
Right.
helpful.
Right.
So they talk to you, and in that
That's what I
form.
told my kids, and several times they haven't listened.
Yeah.
So
So it's just, you know, you don't want to make that call. It's embarrassing. Oh my God, do I really have to make the call?
yeah.
It just makes it a whole lot easier, and they're much nicer to you when you make that phone call and you say, look, I
Yeah.
can't do it this week, but I believe I will be able to do it next week, and if I can't, I'll let you know. You know, I've had that happen where I thought, and then we got a short check, and so I had called them again and said, look, it's, you know, short check this week, I can do it next week, you know, and
Right.
as long as they know about it and they
Mhm.
know you're working on it, they will work with you.
Yep.
You
They
know,
will.
so
Also.
anyway, so I know you're getting tired. You're going on 3 hours. So, and I joined late. So,
That's okay.
but
I
you know,
am gonna wind down here. I need to go
yeah,
eat.
yeah. Well, obviously I do too. If I went low sugar, you know?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Yeah, I got it up above the
Good.
low sugar mark, but I probably need to actually do something. But anyway, so yes, anytime, Kim.
Yeah.
Either protesting or coming on and just shooting the
But if
shit
you
or
think you're gonna have a
chatting.
clear day and you want to do
Mhm.
it, call me, because
Yeah.
during the day I'm usually always free because my husband's asleep.
Yeah, he
And
works nights.
so, yeah, he works at night. So,
Mhm.
and he works weekends too. So I'm pretty available because my grandkids were my whole life, but they moved
Right.
away.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
now I got lots of time.
Well, I used to work at HEB. You know HEB.
Oh,
Yeah, I used to be one of the demo chefs at Cooking Connection at HEB.
oh, neat.
And that's where all of the cooking background is. And before that, I was a grandma cook. I was just like any other, you know. It's just that I was adventurous. I would try things, and then, you know, I learned that, okay, they really like this, and now I have to reproduce it. Okay, I need to start writing it down. You know.
I do that too.
Yeah. So it looks like the car maybe.
Oh yeah, we got it.
And so I'm gonna have to go take a dog to the vet, and
Okay. I hope
yeah,
it's okay.
I think we think she's got a urinary tract infection.
Okay.
But she's not wanting to eat today. She was fine yesterday, but she was peeing a lot, and today she's
We
not
had
wanting to
the
eat.
one
And
you
she's
saw
depressed. Yeah.
a few days ago. We weren't seeing her pee,
Uh-huh.
and she didn't want to eat. We were worried about her too, but then it seemed to be okay after.
Yeah.
That one day, I was
Yeah.
like, she loves food.
Yeah. So does this one.
Yeah.
So the fact that she's not eating is really odd. And this is a puppy. We're talking 3.5, 4-month-old puppy.
Oh my, yeah.
So yeah, we need to. It's something that we need to.
Replace the whole damn thing.
I don't know what they're talking about, but anyway,
Right.
so we need to take her in because she's slightly dehydrated, so we can get some
Yeah.
fluids under the skin and
Right.
make her feel better and that type of stuff. And so we need to do that. And I'm a former veterinary, so I spent 8 years in a veterinary clinic, an emergency veterinary clinic. So I'm a former. They called me a vet tech, but I am not a certified vet tech. I'm a former veterinary assistant. And so I have, and a breeder of German Shepherds for 30 years. So I have,
my daughter loves German Shepherds.
yeah, I have quite a bit. Well, let me show you. I have a picture. I don't know if I can get it to show very well.
Hers passed away last year.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get it to show very well because it's under glass. Yeah, it's not going to show.
Yeah,
but,
it's not showing very well.
But this is a picture of one of my show dogs back in 2006. And my son is the person handling him. So
good.
My youngest. So we used to do that. And so yeah, I have a lot of animal background, animal medical background. I have a lot of cooking background. So that's where you see me, you know, people every once in a while somebody will say, this is going on with my dog blood. And I say, okay, tell me a little more. And I'll ask certain questions, and then I'll say, okay, I'll let them know whether or not it's an emergency. I'll know whether or not it needs to see a vet or whether or not it's something you can deal with at home.
I have a question for you.
Oh, sure.
If you don't mind about that.
Yeah.
So our Pitty, she's Pitty boxer.
Right.
She is always flapping her ears and scratching her ears. We have taken her to 2 different vets,
Mm-hmm.
and they said it wasn't ear mites and gave us drops.
Mm-hmm.
And so to soothe it, we'll put Vaseline, but I'm getting ear dirt all the time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
she has mites, ear mites.
If they did a test on the ears, the stuff coming out of the ears, and did not see
I
mites, then
think
it's
the
not
second
mites.
one did.
Okay, it's not mites if they didn't see any.
Okay.
However, you will get that dark discharge on a lot of different ear infections.
Okay.
Are we talking about flap ears or prick eared?
Flap.
Flap eared. Okay, so
She's
flap
got
eared.
the boxer ears.
Okay, does she like go swimming and things like that?
No.
Okay.
No.
My guess, I would. First thing I'm going to tell you is I'm not a vet.
Right.
You probably need to see another vet that will look into it.
I think the second one did give us drops more towards of an ear infection. And it seemed to get better. We'll probably just need to take her back in.
Yeah, flap ear. I have one right now that I'm treating for an ear infection. That's one of my older dogs. But anyway,
she shakes her head real hard and flaps those ears. Yeah. She was doing a lot last night.
There's a couple things I would tell you to do. Okay. One is take her to the vet. Let's find out if it's a yeast infection, which is highly probable when you're talking about a flap-eared dog. They get, any liquid in their ears for whatever reason, it tends to become a yeast infection. Mm-hmm. Or if it's a bacterial infection. So, it just kind of depends. So we need to find out exactly what it is. They will give you drops in the future to try to prevent it. Every week or two, just do a quick little 50-50 vinegar and alcohol mixture.
My husband, he washes her in the shower with him. That might be how she's getting water in the ears.
Could be.
He does wipe her ears out, but maybe we should do a cleaning after that.
Yes. Then if she's doing that where you think she might have gotten any water in her ears, a 50-50 vinegar alcohol mixture will help. Vinegar takes care of any yeasty beasties.
White or apple cider? White vinegar?
I use white vinegar. Okay. And I use the not the heavy duty, but the lighter version, the regular that you use.
I think that's what I get.
Yeah.
We use it to clean everything. That's what I use.
Take that every time he gets out of the shower with her and just wipe, squirt, squish, 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 wipe, done with a cotton ball. Don't use a Q-tip. Cotton ball. Okay. What that does is that floats any dirt or anything up to the top, and that's what you're wiping out. And then the alcohol involved in that, like I said, dries it. So you've got the vinegar takes care of any yeast or mold or any of those types of things that can be in there, and the alcohol dries it. You
explained this better than either one of the vets did.
I don't know.
Thank you.
No problem. No problem. I mean, there's over-the-counter ear washes you can get, or you can use swimmer's ear drops, or anything like that. But it's just simple to get a little bottle and 50-50 alcohol vinegar, cheaper, so on and so forth. But the first thing I would tell you is let's go find out what's going on. And the other thing to warn you about is if she does do that flapping really hard with those floppy ears, a lot of times if the ear ever blows up, gets, like it's swollen, looks like it's swollen, basically what's happened is she's burst a vessel in that ear. It's called a hematoma. And the problem with hematomas is they're very difficult to treat. They have to go in, sedate them, cut it open, drain it, put a drain in, and then let it drain until it heals from the inside. So
usually if we go in with a little bit of Vaseline with a paper towel, we don't ever use the Q-tip.
Yeah,
it usually makes her feel a little bit better for a little while.
Yeah, the Vaseline is probably the Vaseline is probably a cover. That's why I'm saying that you're better off with the alcohol vinegar mixture.
Definitely, we'll try that. Thanks.
Yeah, so no problem.
We're gonna take her in again too if it doesn't get any better.
Yeah, definitely take her in and have her looked at.
All right. Well, we're right at 3 hours. Never thought I was gonna be on.
There you go.
It was fun. Thanks for coming on.
It was not a problem. I'll meet you backstage and we'll exchange our information. And
how do we do that?
Okay, I'm going to leave studio.
Okay.
But I am not going to, basically, actually the best way to don't leave studio, take me off the stage, then in your
And you'll still be there after I end the
I
stream?
will still be on the bottom. You end your
Okay.
stream, and then the stream is ended. So then you pull me back up on the stage, and then we can do it that way, because you can't hear me talking at all when I'm not on stage.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the key. So you just pull me off stage, end your stream, then pull me back on afterwards once you go through the whole process of ending, because it's going to ask you if you're sure you want to end
Right,
and all that
yeah.
other stuff. So okay,
Okay.
so that's
cool.
all you need to do.
Thanks a lot.
No
I'll see you in a
problem.
minute.
All right.
Okay, everybody. That was super fun. Long stream, but we talked about a lot of good things. So I hope you guys got some good information, and I'll see you next Sunday doing the rest of this chapter.